What's up, dudes? Welcome to Merc Space. Recently, I sat down with my cousin Mark Willshire, West End actor and photographer, to discuss his career on the stage, with such credits as Shitty Shitty Bang Bang, Carousel, Starlight Express, Ghost the Musical, Bodyguard the Musical, leading man in Never Forget the Musical based on the songs to Take That, and most recently, his role in Waitress the Musical on the West End stage. Mark has had quite the career and lots of stories to tell. So why don't you go and put the kettle on, grab an entire packet of biscuits, and join me and Mark as we delve into working with celebrities, traveling the world, COVID, auditioning, training, and of course discuss the importance of wonking. So without further ado, here it is, Mark Willshire, A Life on the Stage.
I'm still annoyed about your post on Facebook about Soul winning over Onward.
Don't, dude, seriously. Like I was like half asleep because I was like I going to sleep when they were talking about the boring stuff, and then I was like, okay, I'm listening, and and I was like, I know it's gonna happen, but it shouldn't happen, and then it did happen. And I was just like, no, it's a crime. I'm going back to sleep.
Don't get me wrong, like visually, Soul was beautiful because each time Disney, Pixar, and whoever's doing it, each time they make one, like it gets better and better. And it does. Like the next one out, which is out on Friday, is Raya and the Dragon.
Yes.
Raya and the Last Dragon, and it looks incredible. Like the hair on it. There's a scene in the trailer where there's water going up the stairs, and the water looks incredible. So I mean, of course, like visually, Soul was absolutely beautiful, and there were some great vocal performances in it. But
the
story was just a bit kind of like.
Yeah, I wasn't really enjoying it, and then I sort of picked it up a bit more at the end. But I mean, Onward the whole way through, I was just like,
yeah, loved it. Watched it loads of times. Got 3 Funko Pops for it.
Yeah, of course you are. Yeah, I've watched it twice now, and I'm telling everybody at work to watch it. And there's so many people that haven't even heard of it, which is insane.
No, it's so but this is why, and it's probably another reason why Soul won over Onward is because Onward came out just as the pandemic was heating up and everything was shutting down. So we literally saw it at the cinemas on the 6th of March. No, sorry, not the 6th of March. Like the 11th of March, something, and then like a week and a half later, we were in lockdown. So
I watched it on Disney Plus because I think we got Disney Plus a bit early, and I just watched it on that. So missed the cinema, but anyway, we'll talk about stuff later.
Yeah,
for sure. Tonight we're talking about you, Mark Willshire. This is your life.
Life. Where's the red book?
The red book, yeah. Oh, damn, I totally should have got a red book. I'll do that as well. Inspiration for the future. So welcome back to Merc Space. Welcome to my space. So tonight we're talking about you and your career. So let's just take it all the way back. And how did it all begin? What was your inspiration? What made you decide to get into acting?
Well, basically, I think when I was around, I think it was about 7 years old, always obviously used to like sing and dance around the house and stuff and everything. And a lot of my family knew it. And my auntie came to my mum one day and just said, look, we know Mark loves to have a little sing and dance around the house and stuff. Like, would he be up for doing performing in this local dance school's show? Like, they need boys, so would he be up for it? I don't actually remember the specific moment that my mum asked me, but I obviously said yeah. And I did that. I think that was over the course of a few months, resulting in a sort of 1 week of performances. And this bit I clearly remember being in the Blackpool Opera House, not the Opera House, sorry, the Grand Theatre, and in the corridors at the end of the week saying to my mum and dad, I've enjoyed this so much, I want to do lessons. Cool. And that was it, really. I sort of did lessons from about 7. And then when I sort of hit high school, I switched dance schools and sort of progressed onwards, got to about 14 years old. Just as you start to take GCSEs, and then they start going, oh, well, if you have good GCSEs, then, that can give you good choices for your A-levels. And I was like, A-levels? What? I don't want to sit behind a desk for another 2 years after this. Like I want to perform. I'm bored as it is. And at that point I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be, I want to be a performer. And it was around that time that I knew that I wanted to do it. I'd had a bit of a taste earlier on as a kid, like working professionally and stuff. So I knew a little bit what what it was about. I never really looked back, to be honest. As soon as I knew at that point, like, don't get me wrong, I kept my head down and I got my GCSEs like I needed to.
Yeah.
But just and by then, I'd already been accepted into a performing arts college, so it wasn't a sort of like, well, we'll see how you're doing at GCSEs and then we'll take it from there. It was, I was going. So yeah.
Awesome. So that was later on though. So you already done stuff when you were younger as a kid on stage. Right. So starting out with a panto and then gradually going to Oliver.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
Probably one of the best summers of my life. Well, of my young life, that, like, being 12 years old and sort of going away to London and stuff. That sounds pretty horrible. I did miss my mum and dad, and I'm sure they miss me. But it was quite tough at first because I had to go away for like a full month when it was rehearsals and stuff. And you can imagine, as a 12-year-old, like, never really gone out of Blackpool unless you've gone with your mum and dad for like a day or on holiday or whatever. And then all of a sudden they're going, by the way, you're gonna move in with like 3 other strangers and a chaperone for 4 weeks. And it was like, what? So, you know, once I initially got over that, it was just an incredible experience to be in that sort of work in that sort of professional way, even though it's slightly different as a kid, but it's a level up from when you do your dancing school shows and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then I met some brilliant friends, like, you know, as you can imagine, as a sort of 11, 12-year-old boy, being a singer and a dancer, obviously I got a little bit bullied at school.
Yeah.
Not bullied, picked on, because if anyone started a fight, I'd probably fight back. So it wasn't like I was, you know, I wasn't looking for a fight, but you know, if anyone, I'd stick up for myself. If I'd try and stick up for myself. So, yeah, as you can imagine, then going over and doing a show with loads of other lads of a similar age than me, and like, we're like, oh my God, like, I'm not being teased or bullied about what I love and do, you know. So doing that, and then like working with some of the incredible performers and everything, and was just a ridiculous experience as a kid, and it still makes me smile when I think about it, like, to the day, you know, because it was just, not every kid gets that, you know. I mean, they might get it in other ways, but like, for me, that was just such a great experience. It took me a long time to get over that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's massive at that age. I mean, obviously I went to boarding school for like a year, so I got a little bit of an insight into how you felt. But yeah, I mean, a whole summer then away, well, 4 weeks away from mum and dad with people you didn't even know.
I mean, that was crazy. The initial rehearsal point, like that was the 4 weeks. And then it was literally like week on, week off, week on, week off.
So you go home for a week and then go back for a week.
Up and down the train, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's so cool, because that meant you made all these friends, and you got to know, you know, people that were like you as well, and you know, it wasn't just yourself feeling that way. But I suppose it was really great to work alongside adults as well, and and learn from them.
Yeah, definitely. I think I did a bit with Ruthie Henschel, Sonia Swaby.
Cool.
I was trying to think who else was in it. Julie Allen of Brighton was just before she took off, as because she was the original Belle in Beauty and the Beast that was at the Dominion. Wow. And actually my dad surprised me with some tickets to meet her, because I had a massive crush on her as a 12-year-old. Bless her. And she was so lovely as well. I remember, like, as a 12-year-old kid, going, as we're about to leave the show and like, that's it, your time on the show's over, like, I was like, I want to get pictures of everyone, and I kept asking for a picture, and she was like, I'm really busy, I'm so sorry. And I was like, she knew I had a bit of a crush on her, but then bless her, she was like, look, give me your camera and then I'll take some pictures, and then when you get it developed you can see them. And like, so like, you imagine like days after getting them developed, and then she'd taken pictures with a little sign saying bye Mark and a little sort of crying. I was like, oh!
That is so cute. What a nice person.
I'm trying to think who else would have been it that sort of might not have necessarily been as known then, but took off.
Yeah.
I think, funnily enough, though, I did one of the adults in Oliver at the time ended up being in my first ever job as an adult professional.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And we were talking like first few days into rehearsals, and, you know, he was like, oh, you must have done performing before as a kid. And I was like, yeah. I said, I did Oliver. And he was like, oh, I did Oliver. And I was like, oh, I did it then. And he went, I did it then as well. And he was like, oh no, like, how old were you then? I was like 12.
You made me feel so old.
But actually, he's really good friends with me now. I was a groomsman at his wedding, and he was a groomsman at mine as well.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That's
So
what's
that's
so
incredible.
great about in that world, you meet all these different people and you build all these bonds. It must be amazing.
Yeah. Lots of ins and outs, and some people stick for whatever reason, and some you can get on with brilliantly, and then you just never really hear from again. It's quite strange in that sort of way.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. So it was there like any specific things you remember learning and watching the older people, the adults, and learning specific things from them?
Do you know what? No, not that they didn't teach me anything or anything like that, but it's just that it was very much you were kept away.
Yeah.
I just went to the stage like just before you were supposed to be on the stage, and like you only ever really saw the adults on the stage.
Yeah.
You might see them walking around the corridors. It's not like you would go and hang out with them or anything. It was very much keep the kids separate kind of thing.
Yeah. I remember that.
I've been in shows as well where I've been the adult and they've been kids, and so I know what it's like on that side. So I will pay attention to them and I'll say, "Hey guys, how's it going?" But you also, at the same time, don't want them hanging around you because words slip out that shouldn't do and everything, and kids don't need to learn them. So.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, when me and Mum did the panto the other year, again, it's the same. Then the kids all kind of hung out in their own little place, and sometimes they try and tag along. Bless them.
Yeah, there's always a few tryers.
Yeah, they do want to learn. Bless them. It's sweet. So what do you think was, what would you call your big break? Really, would you say it was Oliver or Bugsy or later on?
Depends what you mean by a big break, really. I mean, just fantastic to do Oliver. Do you know what I mean? Like incredible. But then Bugsy Malone was a great opportunity to work with, and again, lifelong friend there. Like one of the guys that I met on that and got on with really well, because we then did another show together with the MYMT. He's still like one of my best mates now. We had a period of where we just didn't speak to each other. We found each other on Facebook and had a little bit of a conversation again, but then we both had our very first audition for Ghost together.
Oh wow.
And it was literally like we picked up exactly where we left off, and then we worked together, and then we've just been in touch ever since. He was supposed to be in my wedding as a groomsman, but he ended up he was directing a show and couldn't get out of it.
Oh man, that sucks. He was there in spirit, I'm sure.
I was a groomsman at his wedding though.
It was friendship where you just pick up straight where you left off, and it's like no time has passed. That's really nice. Yeah. That's brilliant. I love that. Let me think. So that was when you were younger. So did you do any stuff during school time when you were a kid, or was it all just during the summer?
As in like school shows?
No, like as in like were you like off doing stuff when you should have been like at school? Were all those shows just during the summertime?
No, yeah. That a lot of those times it was during school time. So say for example, when I did Oliver, there was like about 4 or 5 week period maybe where we were still in school term time. It was like the last term of the year. So during the days we had to go to Sylvia Young Theatre School, and they did a thing where they split the week. So the first 3 days was academics, and the next couple of days were sort of like, dance, singing, acting, all that sort of stuff. So we went to a couple of those. When I did Bugsy Malone, that was in school time as well. And basically I got put up with this family who lived in Brighton, and I had to go to the guy who was in the show with me. It was his family that I was staying with. Like I had to go to his school.
That's crazy. That's so cool.
Like turn up as this random person. They're like, and I had to go to the same lessons as him, even though he was a year above me. So I turned up with like the year above me, and I had my own work to do, but I had to be in their classes.
That's interesting.
I don't remember it ever being like troubling, but I always look back and go, that was weird.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like a foreign exchange student. Just this random kid in the corner.
Well, Blackpool is quite foreign, isn't it? So.
Well, yeah, a little bit, yeah. Well, I suppose, did you do any stuff in school then? You must have done some school shows.
Yeah, I had to, because my mum wouldn't not let me.
Yeah,
my mum would always say, don't she was like, don't you think you're better than them? Like, because the teachers used to ask me to do stuff, and I'd be like, oh, I don't know. And it wasn't for me, it wasn't like I'm too good for it. It was like, I don't want to put myself out there.
Yeah.
As a 12-year-old lad who's good at singing and dancing. And I ended up doing loads of stuff because I like the music teacher at my school took a shine to me and stuff, and like really helped me out with stuff. So I'd go and hang out in the music room at lunch breaks and stuff when it was winter. So like she'd go, Mark, we just want you to sing something at assembly, and you're like, oh god. I think one of the worst moments of doing shows at school was we did Sound of Music, and the very first performance we did it was like, oh, we're going to test out the performance in front of year 8, which was my year at the time. And I was like, oh, for God's sake, like, no. And I played Rolf, and there's the moment where he pulls out right near the end where Rolf pulls a gun out on Captain Von Trapp, and he's like, no, don't move any further. I'm going to shoot. And the gun prop that I had was a plastic gun with one of those red ends. You know the ones I mean. So I, no, don't move. I'll shoot. Pulled the gun out. Everyone in my year like, brilliant. And I was like, oh, this is bad. But yeah, and then there was like a couple of times in like assemblies where I'd sing and stuff. And actually, like one time I remember singing Robbie Williams' Angels in an assembly. I think I was in about year 10 or 11 then. And actually a couple of the lads who were like, you know, the lads. Yeah. A couple of them came up to me and went, respect, mate, well done. You sounded good. And because like they're coming towards me and I'm going, oh, like, what are they going to say now? I'm out, like, and I'm ready. I'm like, are they going to go at me? Like, you know, do I need to protect myself or whatever? And they were like, well done, mate. Really good. Like, respect, massive respect. And you're like, nice. All right, cheers. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and it is so funny actually, because when I used to get so much stick at school and everything, and now like it's obviously years later, and if like sometimes I see lads that I went to school with that gave me jip, like if I go to like Blackpool games or anything with my dad now, and they'll be like, mate, it's Mark Willshire, how are you? Oh, I see you doing really well, mate. Oh, and they're like really friendly and like interested in what I'm doing, which, you know, it's part of you locks into that sort of how they were at school, and you kind of go, well, people do grow and grow up and whatever. So it even though it was a bit weird, it was kind of like, okay.
No, I know what you mean, because, you know, I've had that kind of thing as well with people that you didn't get on with necessarily at school, or who are the popular crowd, and then you meet up with them later and it's like, okay, we're adults now, we can all be a bit more mature. Oh, that's quite nice. That's cool. So when you went off and you know, you didn't do your A-levels, you went to theatre school, where was it that you went?
So I trained at Lane Theatre Arts, which is in Epsom. Best 3 years that absolutely made one of my best friends for life. Like some other really, really, really good friends. Again, 16 years old, going away, spending that time away. But man, was I excited. It was. Imagine. I was about to go and do what I wanted to do, and I was going to be around everyone else who's doing it. Like, and I really sort of started to find myself, really. You know, because when you're at normal school, you know, I'm not going to turn around and go, like, whilst I'm in the middle of playing football on the field at lunch break, and go, mate, have you heard that new song from Wicked? Like, blah blah blah. I don't think Wicked was out then, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, they'd be like, what? But whereas, like, you know, you can talk about normal things with the lads that I went to at college. Not that everyone was lads. There were some guys there who were gay. In fact, I think half of my year were actually. You know, and you could turn around to people, you have normal conversations about normal things or sports or whatever with other lads, and then the next minute you're talking about, oh, you know, isn't that a beautiful song from that show or whatever, or, you know. So that's brilliant. And like I say, just around people and everyone understanding each other's love for performing and stuff, and it was just brilliant. It was just a great time. I had such a good time. I learned so much. Like, I worked hard. I worked my arse off at college. And I got my rewards for it. I was a favorite at my college. Like, you know, when you hear of people training at performing arts colleges, there's always like, oh, were you one of the favorites in your year? And I was, but I wasn't someone who just sat back and sort of like let it all come at me and just went, oh, well, I'm going to get this because, you know, I'm a favorite. Like, I was always like, there's a lot of people around me here and everyone's good. So I need to work hard. And it came, but it still surprised me, sort of thing, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'd actually made all this up in my head, that I'd worked hard at college and not just sort of sat back and whatever. But then recently I went home and I saw my leavers book, and so many people wrote, which actually it got me a bit emotional, actually. So many people like put in their message to me in my leavers book saying, you've worked so hard and you deserve everything that comes your way. Like, I don't think anyone else in the years worked any harder than you, blah, 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 blah. And it kind of got me emotional. Number one, because that, like, you know, to have that sort of admiration from your peers is great. And also emotional because I was like, I wasn't making it up. You know?
No, yeah. You deserve like everything you got, all the success you got because you worked for it.
Yeah, I did a couple of pantos whilst I was there, like in the Christmas. I spent my first Christmas away from my family at 16.
Oh my God.
I got a panto in Sevenoaks in Kent and had to suddenly like be away for Christmas, you know, at 16 years old, and with this other family that, and everyone has their own routines on Christmas, like day and stuff, don't they? And like to wake up in a house, like, and bless them, I think they bought me a couple of presents just to sort of like keep me sweet, but it wasn't
Harry
the same.
Potter.
Yeah. But,
that's so sweet.
So to do that, and then the next Christmas I spent away from my family again. But at that point, I'd really gotten to know some of my friends, and we had such a great time. You know, I met some brilliant friends training, and we had such a good time. Like working hard together, sharing each other's joy, like picking each other up when we were down. You know, living on my own for the first time. Not in my first year, because you weren't allowed to. If you were under 16, you weren't allowed to live on your own. So I lived with two other lads and a landlady who lived in with us, and she used to lock us out. She'd go, if you're not back by 10 o'clock, we're locking you out. So and you know, you're 16 and you're going away, and like we'd go to the pub every like Friday, probably every like Thursday and Friday, like in my first year. You know, and you don't want to be told you need to come home at 10 o'clock and the door being locked. So we'd either go and stay at another landlady's house where our friends live, because she was just like, stay at mine. She had a massive house. Or like, you know, if someone was already back in, you'd be like, mate, open the window, and we'd have to climb up. And that didn't happen too often with me, but it did with the other lads. But yeah. And then in my second and third year, I moved in with some of my year mates, and so I had my first taste of living on my own and looking after myself. I don't think I did too much of a bad job. Probably not too great now, looking at like how I live and look after myself now.
Looking back,
I was doing, you know, I was all right. And I used to tell the girls off that I lived with. We lived with, so there was 3 boys and 2 girls in the house, and the girls were terrible at not washing up. And I used to tell them off all the time. Got into massive arguments with them, and they just leave their washing for me to wash it up. And stupid as I was, most times I'd like pretty much all the time I'd do it. And then this one time I was like, I've had enough. They left a lasagna dish for like 3 weeks or something. And I was like, I'm leaving it for a few days. I'm not touching it. And I went to pick it up and I went, I'm not washing this. And I literally, just on the spur of the moment, marched into their room with all of their dirty washing, in the room, and went, wash it up, because I'm sick and tired of looking at this.
That's brilliant. Oh my God.
They were annoyed with me, but they washed it up. But yeah, I don't think they ever like left it that long again.
No. That's so gross. That's ridiculous. I remember times like that at uni myself, living with people who didn't clean up properly, or one of my flatmates, they would, if your stuff was on the side as well, they would wash everybody's stuff, but this particular person would do just an awful job. And you'd go to pick up like your glass, let's say you had orange juice in it, and it was still full of like, you know, bits of orange juice, you know, if you had juicy bits, or like a fork would still have like a bit of sauce on it or something. You're like, so I ended up putting a sign up on one of the cupboard doors in the kitchen saying, please just leave my stuff, I will wash it myself. I just had to do it again anyway. It was gross. Yeah. Fun times living alone.
But yeah, like literally getting to the end of my third year and realizing how much I'd achieved. And I was lucky enough to know that I was going on to my first job when I'd graduated.
So you already had a job lined up?
I had a job. Like we had about 3 or 4 weeks left of college, like which was essentially like the summer show, which is like the spectacle at the end of the year, and a couple of like assessment classes and open days and stuff, and our graduation. So leading up those 4 weeks, I already knew I was going on to a job. I mean, it still didn't stop me from working hard. It didn't shut me down and go, oh, okay. Oh, that's it now. Don't care about college. And I soaked up as much as I could of those last few weeks at college, because I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to feel this way again. I don't know what it's going to be like when I get out there, like, you know. And I remember, so one of my best mates now, who's my best man at my wedding, he was in my year at college, and we finished, and he was like, mate, I'm not ready for this to be over. I was like, no, neither am I. We were both like, ah. And he was like, I'm coming to Blackpool. And I was like, what? He was like, I'm coming to Blackpool. So he came to Blackpool for like 3 or 4 days. And like literally, like, yeah, literally like watching him drive off. Like, he was like, I have to go. I've got to go and see my mum and dad or whatever. Like, I was like devastated, because like that world that I'd been in for 3 years was of people, and being in a comfortable sort of environment of, you know, being able to be me, like in a performing way and everything, and it was gone. I mean, it sounds very dramatic, because, you know, it still kind of continues into the jobs and stuff that I've done, but it's different.
Yeah.
And those are the sort of people that I were around that understood me, you know. So yeah, that was tough.
I completely understand that. So what was this job then?
So the first job I did was the UK tour of Carousel.
Cool.
Wayne Sleep choreographed it.
Wow.
I always forget meeting him for the first time. Never forget meeting him for the first time, because he said something vile in the kitchen. I can't repeat it on here, but let's just say it was very rude and very sweary, like in a disgusting sexual way.
Wow, that doesn't surprise me. From what I've seen of him, he seems like a right character.
But he was fun, and that was an experience, and you know, just to get out there and be doing my first job, and I went for it because I worked hard on stage. I played hard after the show. You know, we were out every night, like even if it was just for, oh, you're just going for one at the pub, which was like 4 or 5, you know, every night, like literally for like, you know, months at a time. And then you'd have a week off, and then like from the show and stuff. And it was just great to be working out there, and my hard work was acknowledged there, because I was given bits in the show to do that shouldn't have necessarily been for anyone in the ensemble. But I think the director fancied me a little bit, which worked out in my favor once, because the night before our first preview, we'd been out to the pub, weirdly in Bromley, which is where I used to live. And I'd only had 4 pints. And at this point, you know, that was kind of like normal for me. But I still to this day think someone spiked me. I was ridiculously rough. So I woke up the next day, and we had a technical rehearsal to finish off the show in the morning / early afternoon, which then went into a dress run and obviously the very first preview. But I was rough in that technical rehearsal. I was sat there, and my friend at the time was looking at me, and he's going, mate, you need to stop looking like you're about to like throw up. You've got to look like you're alert. And I was like, I can't help it. And I had to disappear to the toilets, and I disappeared for about half an hour because I was throwing up. Some of the lads and the girls were teasing me, because they're like, you're so lucky that director fancies you, because
oh my God,
you'd be being fired if you didn't, you know. Anyway, it didn't stop me. I still went on stage like for the first preview, and I did my performance as hard as I could, and I was rough by the end of the night, celebrated with a couple of beers. But yeah, it was a great first job to do, like tour around the country, have fun, meet some great people, like be on my first like professional show.
What an experience. I mean, touring around the country at that age as well. That's pretty crazy. It was really good
fun. And I mean, I ended up being Tina Tour, because a lot of the shows that I did were on tour. So that was sort of like my first taste, and my almost like my first year of training for touring. But it was good fun. It was great fun, and I got luckily a couple of people I was trained with were in the show with me. I met some new people. Like I said, I met 2 really good friends now. Who he was part of my wedding. I was part of his, and the girl that I met on that show with him, they obviously got married. So it was really good. It was a really good first job to have.
That's cool. A great launching pad then. And then you went on to the first time I saw you in a show.
Was it the first? Was that really the first time?
Yeah.
Because Carousel came to Blackpool.
I didn't see that.
That's the only time that I've done a show that's gone to Blackpool.
Really?
And put a pin in that, because I'll talk about that later when we get further down the line of another show.
Okay.
Wasn't
Goosebumps in Blackpool? That's why you've been
yeah,
to
as an an
adult.
Yeah, as an adult. When I was 15, obviously.
Yeah, because I remember Goosebumps being on, and I really wanted to come and see it, but for whatever reason didn't get around to it.
Yeah.
No idea why. Didn't see you in Carousel. But yeah, we came all the way to Edinburgh to see you in all.
Went to Edinburgh, did you? Oh,
yeah. Yeah, because you took us to some like fancy club afterwards, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's amazing!"
Oh, do you remember where it was? Because there's quite a few.
No.
I mean, I love
so
Edinburgh.
Young.
I've toured a lot in Edinburgh, so there's a lot of cool places that I know. But yeah,
I really don't.
I mean, that's a great place to come, Edinburgh.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love Edinburgh now. I mean, that was my first time there, and then I hadn't been again until the past couple of years, and now it's an amazing city, absolutely amazing.
It's probably one of the first. Edinburgh and Manchester are the first two venues I look for. If I'm in a tour and we get the schedule through it, I go, "Are we in Edinburgh? Are we in Manchester? When are we in Edinburgh? When are we in Manchester?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, great. And you get to learn that there's places like Edinburgh where you can just get some beautiful, beautiful digs, and you've got to get in fast. So like, it doesn't matter if it's like right at the end of the tour. I'll go Edinburgh book now, Manchester book now. So, yeah. But I mean, Mamma Mia at the time, I don't know if it's been beaten since, but at the time, like I think about 250,000 people came to see the show in Edinburgh, Mamma Mia.
Wow.
And I remember at one point, like people were touting tickets outside for like $1,000 because
Jesus, really?
it was just impossible to get a ticket at the time. Yeah. It was, yeah, what a run. And even though Edinburgh's like posher than Glasgow, like the Edinburgh audience were just incredible. Imagine like performing to like nearly 3,500 people every single night for 3 months.
Insane.
Obviously not Sundays, but
you could feel it. Like I just remember we were in the circle and just remember like everybody was jumping at the end. Yeah, and it was
you
just
could see it from the stage. You could see it from the stage.
That's scary, but it was one of the best nights ever.
Yeah.
For me.
It's a great show to watch, like so fun. And it was fun to be in. It was really fun to be in. That was just an amazing tour. We opened in Dublin at the what is now the O2, I think. Might be something else now. Basically, like it was called the Point Theatre then, which it's a massive one right at sort of the end of the river. And we did 3 months there, open up there. We had an opening night party at the Guinness factory, basically the whole of the Guinness factory to ourselves on that press night. And my mum and dad came actually. And here's me going, I'm not really sure I want mum and dad to come to the press night party because like, you want to get a bit drunk. And I was like, I don't want to really get drunk in front of them. And actually they got more drunk than me.
That doesn't surprise me.
But yeah, like, so we did the initial 3 months in Dublin, and then we spent 3 months over Christmas in Edinburgh, which was just incredible. Spending Christmas time there because it's such a beautiful place, and as you can imagine, Christmas time's even more beautiful.
Yeah.
And then got to experience Hogmanay. Like I was out on the street on Princes Street on New Year's Eve in the crowds, like with the fireworks and everything, which was just an incredible experience. And then it just went crazy then because we went after Edinburgh. We spent just about 2 months in South Africa. So we did, yeah, I know. We did 3 weeks in Joburg, and then this was the best bit. Between Joburg and Cape Town, we had 3 days off. So we basically flew to Cape Town from Joburg, and then we had day 1, day 2, day 3 off, and then had to be in the conference center where we were doing the show. Mm-hmm. And in day 2 was my 21st birthday. Oh. I got to spend my 21st in Cape Town.
That's cool.
I mean, admittedly, I spent the morning under a rock at the top of Table Mountain because I bricked myself and didn't want to abseil down Table Mountain. So I lost 25 quid. But the afternoon and the evening, we went on a sunset cruise on this charter, like cruise boat. It's not imagining like a cruise ship, but like one of those posh like yacht cruise things.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So like 4 hours on a sunset cruise, just having an incredible experience with that. And then we moved on to Durban, and then we went to places like Tallinn in Estonia. We went to like Brussels, Paris, spent 3 weeks in Paris. It was just an amazing, like to come out of Carousel and going, that was a great show. Like, wow, what a sort of year to have and what a job to have. How lucky am I? And then I like stepped onto Mamma Mia. It's just like, oh my God, it's even better.
So amazing.
I
mean, getting paid to travel as well. Like, you're seeing the world.
Can't moan.
That's insane.
Moan. Like, not everyone gets to do that with their job. Not everyone gets to do a job they love. No. And then on top of that, you're doing a job that you love and seeing the world and getting paid for it. And that sort of was a little bit of a reoccurring theme throughout my career as we go on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great one to do. And I was just like, wow, this international touring is quite cool.
I mean, did you get a lot of off time to go and investigate the areas?
Absolutely, yeah. Did loads of sightseeing and stuff like that. Lisbon as well. We went to as well. Sorry.
Nice.
Yeah, lots of stuff like that. Like we even so sometimes like some of us were chosen to like if we had like a week off or a couple of days off in between going from one country to another, some people would jump ahead. And you'd go and do promotion on something like, that country's equivalent of The Voice or something. And this one time we were doing a promotion, and at the end we'd finished it, and the local producer there was like, "Hey, I can get us into the Alanis Morissette concert if you just want to come." I mean, I knew who Alanis Morissette was, but I wasn't like a nerd of her music.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Yeah, let's go. That's awesome." And then you were just getting like, oh, we can get you into this club for free and everything. And then you're marching into these VIP areas and you're just giving, being given free alcohol and stuff without, and feeling like a VIP, but definitely feeling like an imposter because I'm like, I'm not a VIP. And you people like staring at you, who are they? And like, I'm literally no one. Don't worry. Brilliant. But yeah, we got to see a lot of places and do a lot of things, and definitely went to Disneyland when we were in Paris. That had to be done because I always wanted to go as a kid and never got the opportunity. So as soon as I knew we were going to Paris, I was like, Disneyland. I marched around the whole day with a giant goofy hat on my head, like a 10-year-old boy.
You've got to have ears or a hat or something
absolutely, like that. Absolutely. And I would do it again now.
Same. That's brilliant. What do you think's your favourite place you've been to on tour?
Over the years,
yeah. It's a hard one.
Yeah, it is. I would say Cape Town. South Africa was an incredible experience. I mean, did safaris and stuff and everything, and just and we almost got the chance to go to Cape Town again and take. I wanted to take Laura because my best mate was getting married out there because his wife's South African. They did the legal stuff here and then wanted the ceremony and stuff out in South Africa. And I was like, great, I booked the time off. But the job that I was doing at the time in the end wouldn't let me go in the end. So instead of being in Cape Town for our week off that time, we were in Sheffield.
Oh my God, what a bit different.
But yeah, probably South Africa and then Toronto as well. Spent 3.5 months in Toronto and just what a city. Such a cool city, which rekindled my love with basketball as well because I got to go and see the Toronto Raptors and stuff. But yeah, so it's between South Africa and Toronto, but I think South Africa will probably just pip it for the experiences that we had over there.
I mean, it's probably somewhere you may never have gone to.
No way. No, you don't think of going there. You don't think of going to South Africa on holiday, do you? No.
I mean, it's somewhere I would always have liked to have gone, but my mum just says I'm not allowed to go. It's too dangerous now.
I mean, it's like anywhere, really. There's always going to be danger areas. And as long as you keep yourself safe and don't give yourself like any opportunity to be put into bad situations, then you should be okay. We were like warned profusely about Joburg and Cape Town, like always be alert, don't leave things lying around, and we got through it and nothing happened to anyone. We went to Durban and like literally like 3 days in, 2 people from the cast got mugged in 2 separate areas, and you're just like, because they let their guards down.
Yeah, of course, that's the thing. It doesn't matter where you are.
Put yourself into like situations, then hopefully you shouldn't be in those situations.
Yeah, exactly. So after Mamma Mia, you went on Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is pretty awesome. I didn't know you were in that. I never knew you did that. Oh, what a show.
It wasn't one of my favourite jobs, I've got to be
Really?
honest.
Why not?
Yeah, because I'd sort of come off the height of doing my first job in Carousel, like getting some like notice in it, because I was given, you know, sections of songs and lines and stuff and everything, and had a little bit of opportunity to shine, which I absolutely loved, because I was thinking, well, I'm not, it's going to be a few years before I get any opportunities to shine, because I'm only just coming out of college, you know, and there's a sort of kind of hierarchy and that sort of thing.
Course.
So I did that with Carousel, and then Mamma Mia playing Eddie and being, you know, one of the, I think we were called semi-principals.
Yeah.
The part that I played. Or semi-prinnies, as some industry people like to call them, prinnies.
Wow.
Principals, I know. So off the back of doing Carousel and then Mamma Mia, that was it. I was like, you know, give me more responsibility, blah blah blah, and that just wasn't there in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I was in the ensemble. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just that I wanted more.
Yeah,
and with literally, you know, within about 3 days of doing the show, like actually getting to the point of doing proper performances, I was like, yeah, I don't want to stay on this show, because there was talk already of going, oh, it's going to tour for like maybe another 2 years after this. I was like, 3 days in, I was like, no, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
It's a lovely show, and it's a nice show to watch, and the car was great. You know, the car was a great experience. Although I have to say, there were some shows where the car didn't work, and we literally had to be singing like, "Oh, you pretty chitty bang bang, chitty chitty bang bang," pointing and gesticulating to a car that wasn't there.
Oh, not even there at all.
Or it wouldn't fly, and you're singing about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang flying, and you're like pretending to look up, and it's just there on the floor of the stage, and you're like,
oh man, technology. It'll be all right on the night. Or not.
But that was a different kind of tour for me, because we did like a couple of months in each venue. I'd been used to either being, you know, a week in every single venue, or, you know, in Mamma Mia, we were going we were settled in Edinburgh for 3 months, settled in Durban for 3 months. Dublin, and then we was like switching in and out of countries and stuff. Excuse me. So that was different, but this one was like, you know, we were in each venue for like 2 months, and it was just a bit draggy, because I wasn't enjoying the show as much. Don't get me wrong, in the UK as well. I still did always what I've always done. Like, just because I didn't necessarily enjoy the show, I still gave everything.
Yeah, of course.
On stage. But yeah, I was happy to see that one go.
Fair enough then. Well, moving swiftly on from that, on to Starlight Express, which is the next show I saw you in.
Yes. Oh, you saw me in Plymouth, didn't you?
I did, because that's where I was at uni, and me and Uncle Andrew came to see you. And I just realised before, when I was like, oh, I'll wear my Jeff Goldblum t-shirt, and I was like, oh, I wish I knew where my Starlight Express t-shirt was, because I'd have put that on, because he bought me a t-shirt. I actually thought
about wearing a show t-shirt.
Oh.
But I couldn't decide which one, and then I couldn't remember where half of them are, because, like I say, we're in a different house at the moment. So yeah, that was actually, I knew from quite early. So I started that in like a November or something, but I was auditioning for it whilst I was doing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in the summer. Me out of here. So I found out like early summer that I'd got Starlight Express and would be starting later in that year. And I was excited about it, because it's a musical on roller skates. You know, you were going to learn to roller skate. Oh man, that we had actually at the time, I don't know if it's been any different, but at the time we had the shortest period of skate school.
Oh, really?
And rehearsal mixed, yeah.
Must have been
because usually you get at least a month or 2 months to learn to skate before you even do any of the show choreography. And I think we had like 2 weeks to learn how to skate.
2 weeks?
Luckily, I was okay, because I'd like sort of rollerbladed as a kid, but
yeah, of course.
Obviously it was different switching, and you had to learn the proper techniques and everything. Something called wonking.
Oh.
Which
Describe
is basically
that to us.
So when you usually skate, everyone will like just pick their feet up like that. And so they'll pick them up from underneath their hips and then push forward with their foot. And what you actually have to do is you pick your foot behind you and you roll through like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is it generates more speed with less work. So it's called wonking.
Fancy.
So we'd have this skate teacher. He was called Michael Fraley. He had a really annoying nasal American accent. He was lovely. But he'd be like, "Where's your wonking? Come on, wonk for me, please. Wonk, wonk, wonk." You know, and you learn to do it on carpet as well, on purpose. So we'd learn on these proper like floors that were smooth for you to skate. But then there'd be sessions in the afternoon when they'd roll this carpet out, and if you didn't wonk on carpet, you were falling over. So it forced you to use the correct technique and stuff and everything. And that was a really great part about it. And then getting on and actually being like the trains and stuff was really cool. I did that job for a long time though. I did it for about 16 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a long time.
And by the end it was tough because I knew that I was bored of the show by then. There was a lot of politics going on within the company and the cast and everything, which really sort of ruined it.
I can't do that.
Yeah. And it did really ruin it because I actually really enjoyed doing the show and it was really good fun. You know, and also I tell you what, not that I ever got massively embarrassed, but it desensitizes you to falling over on stage.
Yeah.
My first time falling over on stage in Starlight Express was at the end of where all the trains very first introduce themselves, and you know you get all the freight is great and all that sort of stuff, and then it gets on, and then the international engines, which is what I was the Russian turn of, and they literally they come and front the number at the very end. They come on for the very last. Freight is great. You know, they roll forward in front of everyone else, like. Shh, rolling their arms up, and so everyone else is still on stage, and I was like, great, boom, bounced straight back up. So like it wasn't like I was at the front of the stage. There was no way nobody didn't see it.
Yeah.
But you fall over so many times in that show. Like
I can imagine, yeah.
I fell over a few times. I mean, I was definitely one of the few that fell over the least. There were some guys in there like literally only fell over once in the whole like 16 months because they were that good. But yeah, I would say of the people of my sort of caliber, of like who'd been it for the first year or maybe like only 2 years or whatever, I fell over like the fewest times.
Yeah.
But it does desensitize you to it. So then when you fall over in jobs after that and people are like, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed I fell over," I was like, it doesn't matter. You know, we fell over, so what? Laugh at it. So that was one good thing to come out of that show.
That's brilliant. It's such a different show as well, like because of the roller skating. I mean, it must have taken its toll on you a bit with like, I mean, was it harder? Was it more tiring?
My legs and my bum grew so much in that show. Listen, at one point, my legs were so big when I came out of Starlight Express that in my next job, there was about 2 or 3 girls who had thinner waists than my thighs. It was ridiculous. No, it was like, because you're doing all that on the roller skates, so your legs get so heavy. Then you're carrying around the costumes on you, which are like another, like maybe potentially like 2 stone on top of your own weight and carrying your own skates and stuff. And it was grueling. But we did, and this is like carrying on the international theme. We did get to do a period of about 7 weeks where we went away. We were really excited because we'd heard rumors that we were going to do. So you remember when it was at the Victoria Palace?
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, was it a Palace or Apollo originally in the West End? I can't remember. But you know, they obviously have the tracks and everything that went around the audience, and they have that in Germany.
Amazing, yeah.
So like I used to get like friends who'd been in it that I'd met in other jobs before me were like, "Oh, you're not a proper Starlight skater because you haven't done the proper tracks." And we heard that we were going to get the proper tracks and we were going to be able to do proper races when we went away internationally. In the end, it didn't. It was just a bowl that went out into the audience. So it's very different, but still good. Yeah. But yeah, we got to go to Sweden. So we did, and other countries, we did like Gothenburg, oh my God, say other Swedish cities.
It's that one that where there's ABBA stuff. What's it called?
Where did we go? Gothenburg. I can't think of that second one. We went to Gothenburg, then we did like Oslo, we did Helsinki, we did Copenhagen. Why can't I think of that second place in Sweden? That's really annoying me.
I feel like I need to Google for
Yeah.
places in Sweden.
Gothenburg and why can't I think? That's really going to annoy
Stockholm?
me. Stockholm, yes. We went to Stockholm first, and then we went to Gothenburg.
Cool.
And visiting those places and like seeing all the snow and everything, and was cool. I remember going ice skating in Helsinki on basically like a local sports pitch. So like here you'd have like a local AstroTurf pitch or whatever, and it just froze over, and they had a little skate higher up, and you went off and ice skated. What was funny was though, at that point, we were so used to skating on roller skates that ice skates felt really funny. But here was the funniest part was that, so in Starlight you have obviously rubber stoppers on the front of your skates, and a lot of the times, like when you were in venues that were like had no space to gather any speed before you got on stage, and you had to come on stage with speed, you had to do something that was called toto skate. So what you do is you'd be standing basically on your tiptoes, but it was on the rubber toe stopper, and you'd do a step onto one toe stopper, step onto the other, and then big push rolling. And that was so ingrained into you that, honestly, some venues you would come off stage and you're going fast, and the edge of the stage, you come off the edge of the stage, and then about 2 foot in front of you is the side stage wall. So you literally had to be like, whoom, whoom, like that. And you had to move because there were 4 other people behind you. So if you crash, they crash, and they're still on stage, sort of things. I mean, anyway, and like I say, with the opposite with coming on stage with 4, so you did a toto skate. So when we went ice skating on these parks in Helsinki, you got so used to going toto skate, like that you did it. And obviously at the front of the skates, they've only got those little jagged bits. So you go toto face and like go smack on your face. So it was a while, but that was a really, really cool experience to do that.
Oh, I can imagine. Very, very jealous. I've got some roller skates that are like bright pink with rainbows on. I bought the other year. I keep determined every summer to get out and train myself again.
Nice. Well, remember to wonk.
I shall. Thank you for the tip. So after Starlight, you went on to doing Our House, based on the songs from Madness, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a cool job. It was cut short, and it was really, really sad when it did, because it was a brilliant show, absolutely brilliant show, and we had a cast and company that got on so well and had such a great time together. It doesn't happen often. It's only happened like maybe 3 times in all the jobs that I've done, where you've got a great show that you love and then a great cast that you love. And Our House was probably one of the very first experiences of it. And if anything, one of my most favorite numbers ever to do in any job that I've done was Baggy Trousers.
What song?
It was also the hardest number I've ever had to do.
Oh, really?
Pure energy of just like chaotic kids like stamping, but coming out at the end of that number, doing everyone coming from each side of the stage doing like a welcome to the Lion's Den, temptation's on its way. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I got my first little part again in that, which was I played the Scottish boyfriend Callum, which was fun. And what was a quite a nice compliment was when I went to like Glasgow and Edinburgh, like I came out at stage 1 and like, oh, you're English. What? So I was like, okay, good. So the accent sounds decent enough then. If you're going to do an accent and you're pleasing the locals, then you're doing a pretty decent job. Yeah. But got to work with Steve Brookstein, who'd not long come out of the X Factor then. And actually, I got on quite well with Steve, and we used to go and play golf together, like on our days off, like during the day before the show, sort of thing. Yeah. And obviously did that with Gwyneth Strong, who played Cassandra in Only Fools and Horses.
Oh my God, really?
Cool, yeah. Because I don't remember watching Only Fools and Horses as much as a kid. I remember it. I absolutely remember it, but I didn't remember it that much. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, really cool. It's Cassandra from Only Fools and Horses. Recognized her, and it's only like since then that I've watched like Only Fools and Horses a couple of times. I'm like, oh, that's really cool that I did.
Yeah.
And she was lovely as well. She was absolutely lovely.
She seems nice. Yeah, it's one of
Yeah.
my favorite shows ever. Me and Grandad used to watch it all the time. Very cool.
I mean, apart from like some of the things that probably would not be able to be said today and stuff, like it holds up very well.
It does. So, that's really cool. So why was it cut short though?
I don't think we ever found out, but and it was usually you get a meeting, like if your job's going to be cut short or something's changing, you'll have a meeting with the producers and stuff, and everyone will be asked to come on stage, every department. You know, guys, really sorry, we've had such a great run, but unfortunately we're going to have to close. We literally got a printed email on our notice board in the theatre that we were at. I think we were in Wimbledon, and we didn't see our company manager for about a week after that. She just hid. And it was like, oh, so not only are this job being cut short, like you're not going to talk to us about it. And it was a shame. It was a real shame. I can't remember why. I don't know why. It was probably down to money, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
What was cool about that though was that they just literally went, right, guys, anything from the show is up for grabs. The only thing you cannot have is the car.
Sweet.
You know, from the whole like I like driving in my car.
Yeah.
Literally the car. I got like office chairs. I've got a red jacket. Actually, so you know the Stranger Things portraits I did recently.
Yes.
One in the red jacket and the pink cap. That red jacket is a Fred Perry jacket that I got from our house.
Nice.
I got so much stuff from that. It was really cool. Like people literally took backdrops and everything. Like anything was up for grabs apart from the car.
That's so cool, man.
But and it was a shame that it got cut short.
Yeah, it's obviously if you were enjoying it so much, and because it was the original tour, you said. So did the guys from Madness come along?
Well, they'd actually done the show in the West End.
Oh, I see.
But we were classed as like original tour cast because we also did a short stint at the Birmingham Rep for about 5 weeks. So it was prestigious in that way because it was at the Birmingham Rep, and then we toured the rest of the way. But I think I was about to say Joe Sugg then, not Joe Sugg. I think
later.
Well, I can't think what he's called now because I've thrown myself up by saying Joe Sugg. Yeah, I think he came to see the show, but never sort of came back afterwards to say well done, guys, or anything like that. Or
cool.
We didn't meet any of them.
Oh well, you've met plenty of other people.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it anyway. And then the next show I saw you in, where you got your first lead.
Yeah, the big break.
Never Forget.
Big break.
The big break. That's pretty cool.
This is a funny one because I almost didn't get that job.
Really?
So here's the story, and this goes to prove if anyone's listening here that thinks that it's about being successful in industries, all about talent. There's a lot of luck involved. I auditioned for Never Forget the first round, and they said, "Yeah, great. Come back in the afternoon and do this for us, sing this for us." So I did. But in between that, I also went and auditioned for another show, which was like Spirit of Christmas, that was going to Niagara Falls and China.
Sweet.
Like over the Christmas period. Wow. So I did that one. And this was all in the same building, like luckily. Then I went back after that to then do my next bit of Never Forget. And they said, great, okay, we're going to give you loads of sides now. Go away and learn it. So I said, okay. And we'll call you tomorrow with your recall date. So I said, okay, brilliant. Thank you. At that point, I'm thinking, probably it looks like I'm just going to be like an ensemble cover, Mm-hmm. Anyway, so the next day I get this call from Never Forget going, yeah, we want you to come in. This is the date. We'll see you then. Okay, thanks. Then literally about an hour later or something I got a call from the Spirit of Christmas job saying, yeah, we want you for the job. We think you're brilliant. Excellent. Well, we want you. Like, do you want to do it? And I was like, said to my agent, I was like, look, Niagara Falls in China, like over Christmas, let's do it. Like, we'll see what's happening in the industry when I get back. And he was like, yeah, I'm happy with that if you're happy with that. So I said, great. 3 days after that, Spirit of Christmas called me back and go, we can't get a visa for you, so you can't do the job. And I'm like, oh God, what?
Oh my God.
So I said to my agent, I was like, look, can we get back in for Never Forget? Because it's not for another like few days yet. Like we'd told him, we'd said, oh, he's not going to continue with it now. So sorry. He's been offered another job and wants to take it. And they were like, yeah, no problem. Anyway, so we rang them up again and managed to get me in again. And by this point, so I did another 3 auditions, I think. And so at this point, like the 4th audition, and I'd been doing all the dancing and everything, like partner work, and it was a Karen Bruce show, choreography wise, which is Karen's work. It's always great, incredible choreography, but is an absolute to do. It's so hard, like with lifts and stuff and everything. And I've been doing all that. And then, so they broke us halfway through this, like what we thought of them was the final audition. And they went, right, everyone go off and get their scripts. And the director went, Mark, just come here for a second. I said, oh yeah. He was like, can you do me a favor? Can you go and look over at the Ash Sherwood stuff? We're going to let everyone else come in first. You just, we'll call you in. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Like keeping it cool, but then like walking out the room and going, oh my, okay. So they're considering me for the lead. But then I thought, well, don't get too carried away because it might just be for the cover. You know, they want to see what I'm like for the cover. So like everyone went in and did all their scripts and everything. Like I was the last one, practicing the song, practicing the script, came back into this was at the Savoy Theatre by then, because it was on in the Savoy. And I went for my script a couple of times on stage with the director. Like he gave me direction. He was like, yeah, do this, do that, try that. Oh, this is good. That's good. Excellent. Went over the songs, like worked over that with the MD on stage. Like, so like the audition panel are watching me like work with him and perform it as well. And I got to there. And then the director came off the stage and the director went to me, just to let you know, I want you for this part.
Oh my God.
He went, we got to convince these guys, but I want you for this part. You are this part for me. And I was like, okay. He was like, have you ever dyed your hair blonde before? I went, yeah, when I was 16. And he went, oh, how was that? I said, it was awful. He was like, oh, good. So that was it. Like I walked away from that and I was going, oh my God. Oh, and I tell you what, on this day, I'd left my phone at home. So I couldn't tell anyone. And then I also had to run over to BBC Television Centre that night because I was performing for Mamma Mia.
Oh, I remember watching that.
On Children in Need. And bearing in mind, I hadn't been in Mamma Mia for about 4.5 years at that point. And everyone else who was doing it that night was like, oh, I haven't done it in ages. Oh, when did you finish the show? 6 months ago. Oh, a year ago. I was like, oh my God, 4.5 years ago. And the track that they gave me was at the front for most of the time, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I
don't remember. I think you were wearing like a blue jumpsuit or something like that.
Yeah. So my mind was going nuts because I was going, I might be considered for a leading part in a show here. This is ridiculous. And then I'm going, what was the choreography? What was the choreography for Mamma Mia? I didn't have my phone, so I couldn't tell anyone. And by the time I got home, I couldn't tell my mum and dad until the next day and go, I think I'm being considered for the leading role here. And bless my dad, his usual reaction is just like, all right, okay. Good. Yeah. Casual as anything. And I did another 5 auditions before I did that. Before I was actually offered the role, I did 5 auditions. Like I went in and did 2 auditions on my own. I did another audition where lots of different girls came in and I read with them, like did chemistry reads. But at this time, they must have known that they wanted me, but they just wanted to bounce me off everyone else. But they hadn't indicated at any point going, yeah, we definitely want you. And then I did my final audition, which was on my own again, still not knowing if it was the final audition, because the final had been at like audition 4 and we were now on like audition 9 or something.
Yeah.
And I left the audition room, and as I was leaving, the director went, oh, Mark, brilliant work, obviously, great. Like just for next time, like let's just keep you a bit more grounded. So like try not to fidget too much with your sheet. So remember that for next time, yeah? And I was like, yeah, of course. And I walked out and I was like, oh, God, how is there going to be a next time? Why? Like, do you want me or don't you? And then I was on the train home, like literally about 2 stops away from home where I was living then. Yeah. And I got the call from my agent going, they want you. They want you for this part. Do you want it? And I went, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't need to know anything else. And what was really funny was I got into my car at the station then, and I turned the radio on, and it literally went, "Today this could be the greatest day of our lives." And I was like, that's like, you can't write that. It sounded so cheesy. And then I also went to turn my car on, and my battery was flat, so I had to sit in my car for an hour and wait for the AA to arrive. But I did get to call my mum and dad and say, I've got it. I'm going to be a leading man, you know. And that was something that I dreamed of since training at college, you know. That was it. Like everyone else is like, oh, I just want to do whatever job. And I was like, no, I want to be. Actually, I tell a lie. It was a side dream, because my original dream was like 2 years in the West End and then into a boy band. And obviously that didn't happen.
What is this?
Because boy bands were like the rage then. Like obviously like NSYNC was still like just being like hot then. And I was like, I want to be in a boy band. Absolutely. But by the time that sort of period rolled around, like 2 or 3 years later, like they weren't anything
cool anymore.
And then when they did eventually become popular again, and like sort of like, you know, when you're thinking of like JLS and all that sort of stuff, I was then too old. So it didn't really work out for me that way. But I got to be part of a boy band in Never Forget musical. And it was just a dream for me. Like all the attention on me, like not in a kind of like, I want all the attention, but like, you know, it felt like payoff for all the hard work that I've been doing in all the other jobs. To be able to do like 10 songs a show and like constantly on stage acting. It also for me felt like a year at training acting school and stuff, because I'd never done that much acting on stage before. Not to that quality anyway, you know. And it was obviously got to do the show with Sean Williamson, Barry from EastEnders, who is a legend. He's an absolute legend. Like literally about a year and a bit later of working with him, I was doing a concert and he was involved in it. It was like, Marky, do you want to come and stay at mine the night before? And I was like, yeah. Why not? And bless him, I was on tour at the time, like in Stoke or something, and I had to drive to Canterbury, and I didn't arrive until like 2:33 in the morning, and he stayed up for me. But yeah, he was a legend. He was an absolute legend. But a great show to do. Had such a great time. And I loved it. I mean, I grew up on Take That because my sister loved Take That. So, and she had any sort of a music player before I did. So all I heard was Take That, or my dad listening to the Beatles or whatever, you know. So to grow up on Take That and then be able to like do their songs and love them and be a leading man at the same time was I just absolutely loved it. And there was talk at the time of it going to South Africa afterwards, and I was like, I'm in. I'm absolutely in. Yeah. So this is the pins coming out again now. Okay. So when I said that obviously no other show I'd been in had gone to Blackpool apart from Carousel, there was talk at one point that Never Forget was going to do a stint in Blackpool for like 2 months. And I was like, yes, like I'm coming to my hometown. I'm the leading man in a show. This is going to be incredible. And it fell through.
Oh, that would have been brilliant.
I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted.
Everyone from school.
you know what? Like I just part of me wanted to perform in Blackpool anyway. Like I'll always look out to see if there's a Blackpool leg, but there hasn't been in any other tour that I've done. No. Problem is the kind of shows that I've done have been quite big shows. So like they usually will go to like your Liverpool, your Manchester. So because that's so close to Blackpool, like in the catchment sort of area, they don't tend to take those big shows to like Manchester, Liverpool and Blackpool. No. Yeah, so it was so close to be able to return back to my hometown and be a leading man in a sort of Take That musical.
That's such a shame.
It's never happened, unfortunately. But I had a fantastic time in it, and I was blonde for a year and a bit. Every 6 weeks I had to find the local hairdressers and get my hair dyed blonde. Like literally some of them I was sat in those, you know, you see those like big old hair dryers that go over the heads like Mars Attacks, and be sat in a hairdresser's with a load of old ladies. Like they're like, what are you dyeing your hair for? And like obviously they would always say, there would always be one old lady that would be like, oh, are you gay then? It's like, no, I'm in a show. And also, why am I gay if I'm dyeing my hair?
Oh, bless her.
But yeah, that was kind of fun being blonde. I've shown Laura pictures of it since, and she's like, oh, I don't like it. I don't think I'd fancy you if you had blonde hair.
Because there's a picture that we had with you and one of the other castmates around the back afterwards. And,
was that outside the Grapes in Manchester, which is shut down now.
Every now and again. It's so funny though. Like, yeah, no, you did not suit that blonde hair. But you know.
What was quite funny was there were a lot of people came out of the woodwork, like when I was in that show. Like if we were anywhere near any northern venues, a lot of like, you know, third cousins removed and this, that, and the other, like came out of the woodwork, like from nowhere, going, "Oh my God, you're doing brilliant. How are you?" Like, I think I've only ever met you once, and I was probably 6 when I did. Like, you know.
Oh my God.
Don't get me wrong. I'm, you know, thank you for coming to see me. But I was like, where were you when I was like, you know, just in the ensemble of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
Well, I wasn't there.
Don't worry about
no,
it.
But
you came to see me in other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it was an amazing show. I remember watching it, and like I remember like a few specific scenes. The one with the rain on stage, that was really cool.
Yeah, that was fun. And that was like, you really had to time your walk, because it was like this rain curtain and there was always a gap for you. Yeah. And you had to walk at a certain pace. It didn't follow you. You had to follow the rain. So like imagine like this whole screen's the rain falling down.
Yeah.
It's rain, by the way. And there'd be this tiny little gap and you'd be walking in this gap, you know, just so it didn't rain on you, because you had your microphone on. Yeah. I had 2 with being the lead, because you'd usually have 2 or 3 as a lead, just in case one of them shuts down in the middle of a show. They can just transfer you onto the next one, sort of thing. So like you couldn't walk, you couldn't get the rain on you because it could damage the equipment.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah.
So you're concentrating on the lyrics you're singing, where you are in the rain, you know, and where you are on stage as well. So yeah, that was really cool. And then obviously it spelled out "Never Forget" as well, didn't it? And
yeah, it did. Yeah.
That was really cool. I mean, it smelled cool. Sometimes you get to like a Thursday in a really bad venue and it stunk, because sometimes they'd literally vacuum the water up and pump it back up again. It was gross.
Even more incentive not to get caught underneath it.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Oh, what a great show. Your next show, I've not actually heard of before.
Girls Night Out. Played a gay stripper.
Oh, really?
And I stripped on stage, like literally full on, everything off, hands over my bits. I tell you what,
that's why I haven't heard about it.
The first 3 shows we did, we opened in Newcastle, and I remember being terrified on the first one, because not only were you going, oh, you know, I've got to remember my lines, I've got to remember the routines, because it was kind of like a full Monty kind of show.
Yeah.
You know, there was story behind it and scenes and acting and everything, but then there were performance routines of them stripping and everything. Yeah. But yeah, and so like the first 3 nights were kind of like, whoa, God, like I'm so super aware that I'm naked on stage here.
Yeah.
And you did, like, there was stuff where you turned to the back and you took your hands off. So anyone further up stage than you that's looking down saw everything. Like the girls used to laugh at us. Sometimes they'd go like this. But that was an experience. It was like after that, like the first few shows, like it was just work. It was just being on stage. It didn't even register in your head like, oh, I'm going out to about 900 women to take my clothes off. It was really strange. The time that it got strange again was when my mum, my dad, and my grandma came to see the show.
Oh, they didn't.
On my grandma's birthday. I was like, I think my dad said it felt a bit awkward, because it was like, obviously, like pretty much the only other men in there in the audience were gay, you know, and then you've got a load of screaming women, and my dad said like, oh, I'm here to see my son. And my mum as well, you know, sort of thing. And a lot of it was sexual content as well, like not obviously the dance routines were like lots of pumping and stuff and everything, but like there was oh it's all right, I've got a spare battery, I'll have to change. I'm going to keep talking. So yeah, it was such a strange one when they came in, but apparently my mum said my grandma was still there going, that's my grandson. My grandson.
That does not surprise me.
I know. It was, I'm gonna have to move away 2 seconds. I'm gonna try.
It's okay. We can pause.
So yeah, like to have them come on my grandma's birthday was very strange, very, very strange.
What is she like though? She's so funny.
Very, very real again. But like, you know, also like that show, I tell you what, you know how women say men are disgusting, and I'm not going to argue, men are disgusting.
Girls are too.
Women are as well.
Yeah.
You get women out on a Friday night in a show where guys are taking their clothes off, and I swear sometimes we'd do in the scenes in between. You'd get all these drunk women that would be like, "Stop talking, just get your out," and you like, "Oh, okay." You know, obviously
I feel so objectified.
Yeah, you still had to do the scene and everything, but like you were just like, like some of them just got really bored, or they'd shout stuff like, "Why have you still got your socks on?" You know, and that was crazy. But yeah, an eye opener when you're being heckled at like that, like literally just going. But you'd come out of stage door and like some women would go, "Oh, can I have your jock strap?" And you'd be like, "No, you can't."
That is what they were there for, for that show. It's that kind of show that you go for like a hen do or something like
absolutely. Right, I should be back on.
I'm liking the multicolored stripes.
Yeah, there you go. I'm at Channel 4. I should get like a little sort of ident card, shouldn't I? Where
we'll be back soon.
A little girl with a chalkboard.
Yeah.
There we go. Right. Sorry. Yes. So yeah, that was a fun show. It was a good experience to be actually do a play as well, because it was classed as a play and not musicals because we didn't sing.
Okay.
So it was really good to like sort of get that notch on my CV of a play and not just musical theatre, because by this point of doing Never Forget and that, I wanted to go into a bit more of acting. And a lot of people told me like, people who I work with there were a couple of TV actors in Girls' Night Out, and they were like, "Mate, you're really good. Like when you told me you were like musical theatre, I thought you were going to be like really over the top and bad, but they were like, actually, you're really naturalistic and you're quite like a little bit like a TV actor." So like I'd had that sort of like said to me, and I've had it said since, like when I've worked with people who've only like sort of worked on TV, they've gone, "Oh God, like, I thought you'd be much bigger as a musical theatre performer, like with your acting, but like you're really good," sort of thing. So yeah, it was nice to get that notch on my CV of doing a play and kind of go, okay, this is good now. I'm sort of getting on a roll. I've like built up to sort of like small parts, medium parts, leading man, like a main part in a play, and then things got a bit quieter then, because I wanted things like that, as in to be a leading man or to be a part and whatever. So, that it became a lot tougher then, because you start turning down auditions because you go, well, I don't want to be in the ensemble. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, and I've got plenty of friends who've been in the ensemble like all their career and they've made brilliant careers out of it. I just wanted more. Yeah. I just wanted more creatively, in a sense, for me stuff. So yeah, it was that's when it got a bit quieter. So I think I finished that in like the summer of 2010, it would have been then. And I had such a near miss with Billy Elliot. I almost got the brother in Billy Elliot, and that stung. That stung, because I went into my final audition for that, and everyone, I was the last one in, and there were 4 of us up for that part, and everyone literally went in and went scene, song out, scene, song out, scene, song out. My turn comes in. Let's do the song first, okay? And I ballsed the song up because I'd literally got the song the night before. So my audition was at 11 a.m. in the morning, and I got the stuff through at 7:30 the night before. And the brother character doesn't really sing anyway. It doesn't necessarily have to be a singer. Yeah. So I ballsed up the singing, and I was like, "Oh, really sorry." And then they were like, don't worry, let's do the scene. And I did the scenes like 4 times each. And the director's going, brilliant. Yeah, let's try this way. Why not? Yeah, that's interesting that you think about it in that way. Let's play with that. Let's, like we really worked through it. And at this point I'm going, I mean, I'm not saying I've got this, but I've got a really good chance because he's really working with me, and everyone before me has not been in this long. So like that happened. And then as I walked out, the casting director was like, oh yeah, great audition. Shame about the song though, wasn't it? And I remember like fuming inside, and like eventually, like a couple of weeks later, I found out that another lad had got it, and I got the feedback from the casting director, which you don't always get in our industry. You don't always get. It's just literally like, you haven't heard anything, you haven't got it, you don't know what you did right or wrong. And they just kind of said, oh yeah, we really thought Mark did a very good audition. We just thought he was a bit nervous on the singing. And I blew my lid at my agent. I went, you need to ring them back now and tell them the reason why that was is because they gave me the song the night before. And I tell you what, ever since then, if I've ever got anything the night before, I've gone, I'm not doing it. No, sorry. If I'm going in to that audition, I want to represent me the best that I can. And I want to represent you, my agent, the best that I can. I don't want to go in and do a rubbish job. No. So you tell them they either reschedule me for another day where I've got enough time to go over this and do it good for them, or I don't go in. It sounds a bit like diva-ish, but it's like when you're in that situation where you've been like learning it the night before, and you kind of know it, but it's not solidified because you've not had days and days at it. And you get into those situations, and even the best of us, like in those auditions, I know some brilliant performers who absolutely like get so nervous when they're in auditions, and almost like it stops them from getting jobs because they get so nervous, but they're talented enough. And on the flip side, you can actually get people who are brilliant at auditions, and then they get into the job and they're just, they don't really progress from the sort of standard that they were in the audition. They don't grow. It's like, so yeah, I learned from that, and that it was gutting because that's a good part. The brother in Billy Elliot, cool,
yeah.
But then obviously, I auditioned for Ghost, the musical.
Yeah, which I've never seen that still.
That was the audition where I re-met my best friend from when I was a kid.
Oh.
Yeah, I did all the auditions for it, got down, and I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be potentially covering the lead here. First cover lead. It would have been my very first West End show because that was the sort of credit that eluded me. And everyone at that point was going, oh, you've got to have a West End credit if you're worth your salt, sort of thing, which annoyed me because I knew at that time that there was people in the West End that was like, they are shocking performers and they're working in the West End, so that's a load of nonsense.
Yeah.
So it was like, first West End credit, really kick up my career sort of thing. Don't mind that it's a cover because I knew at that point they were going to kind of go down the named route for the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just have to suck that up, as bad as it is. So I did the final audition. I was like, okay, I really think I've done a good audition there. Like the director and the associate director were the same team that I did Our House for.
Oh,
now in
cool.
our House, I covered 5 parts. I basically covered all the male parts except one in Our House. So I worked with the associate director extensively in the rehearsal period, like constantly, because I was always in because I covered so many parts. So she was the same associate director on Ghost. And yeah, I thought, okay, I've done a great audition. They've loved what I've done here. Like, hopefully, this might be in the bag. And I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks. And I was starting to hear that people were being offered it and had got it. And I was like, oh no, not got it.
Yeah.
Not got it. Anyway, I'd heard that one person had been offered the show, but had also been offered another show.
You're like, please take the other one.
And they did. They took the other one. And it was a guy I went to college with, actually. So I ended up getting the job, but it wasn't what I wanted in a sense of I was given ensemble and then second cover the best friend. And I was like, when I heard that offer, my heart sank a little bit. I was a bit like, well, that's not what I wanted. And a second cover, like I'm good enough to be a first cover easily. I've been a leading man in a show. Like, I would at least expect, if I'm going down the covering route, I would at least expect to be a first cover.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was basically all that was on offer. And at this point, I'd been out of work for about 6 or 7 months. And I was like, I need a job, and it is West End. So it's a West End credit, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, we did a stint in Manchester. And then at the end of that, the guy who was first cover for the lead was let go by mutual consent. And I remember the day, like, it was really funny, actually, because he shared a dressing room with me and he came in, he was like, lads, I'm not coming to London. And we were like, shut up, Scott, like, shut up. And he was like, no, I'm not coming. And we were like, no, seriously, because he liked to, like, he was a proper, like, dry comedy person. And he was always brilliant like that. And he was like, lads, I'm deadly, deadly serious. I'm not coming. I'm gutted. So I was like, mate, I'm so sorry for you. And then picked my phone up, walked out the door, called my agent and went, get me in that audition room now. Get me.
Yeah.
I should be covering that part. I know it. I know I should be covering that part. And I got an audition, and they said, right, we'd like to offer you the cover. And I was like, well, what cover is it? Because I've heard that there's someone else that might have been offered the first cover. And they were like, you're going to be second cover. And I was like, but there's already a second cover. And they were like, okay, well, on your contract, it will say third cover, but really you'll be second cover. I was like, well, okay. I mean, that's going to be awkward between me and the guy who's the second cover.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we went into the tech run for the show, which, by the way, we did a month of tech run in Manchester because it was such a huge show technically, and then we did 2 weeks technical run in London as well. So we got into the middle of the technical run in London, and the associate director pulled me aside and she was like, how would you like to be a joint first cover for the lead? And I went, what do you mean? She went, well, if there's like a full week off where Richard Fleishman's off, like you'll split the week between each other. And I went, yeah. I said, that's more than you're offering me earlier, so absolutely, yeah. And it turned out that I ended up going on more than the other lad anyway.
Sweet.
What a show. I mean, you missed a treat there. Like, I honestly don't think, whilst I'm sure like some touring versions would have been good versions, I don't think you'd have seen as better cast as what we had.
Yeah.
Casey Levy, who was just incredible. And I got to go on with her a few times, and like she just, like, you saw her in the rehearsal room normally and you were like, wow, she's brilliant. We went into previews, she took it up a notch again. You're like, oh God, wow. You know, we went into press night and then the first proper shows, and you're like, oh my God, she stepped up again. This is ridiculous. And then just being on stage with her and seeing a lot of things that you don't see when you're not on stage, like, I was just like, she's so good. So good. And Richard Fleishman, what a guy. As like, anytime I'd ever covered any roles in any other shows, I was always like, I can be better than them. Like, I can go on. But like, covering Richard Fleishman, it wasn't like, oh, I'm not better than Richard. It was like, okay, I can be just as good as, but like slightly different.
Yeah.
But wow, what a bar Richard set. Like, that's the bar I've got to reach. You know, that's where I've got to hit. What was funny was with that role, like, obviously, if you're familiar with the story of Ghost, which I'm sure you are, like,
yes,
he dies, and then he spends the rest of the film, or show in this case, like, trying to help her. And emotionally, for this character in this show, like, it's so draining. Like, your body's tense all the time from like absolute sheer panic as the character. And Richard used to come into like warm-ups like the next day, and like his hair would be like, he'd like face squashed, like, just like, he'd be like, God, Rich, you're right. Yeah, not sleep well. And it wasn't until I got on and did a run of shows as that part that I just went, I get it now.
Yeah.
I feel like Rita being run over by the tram, you know, when Alan Bradley's running after her. Honestly, I've done some pretty hard shows, and I've done like that Our House baggy trousers number, which was a batterer. Yeah. And I've never felt as dead as when I went on and woke up the next morning. Yeah, when I was doing the part in Ghost. But it was a beautiful show. And what I loved about it as well, the first time I'd ever done a show, like a jukebox musical that had almost like film score in it. And we've talked about this before. You know how much I love film score. So to hear all those film score, everyone's going, oh, I love that lyric on that song where she's like, oh. And I'm like, I love that little bit there where there's a bit of tension rising. You just hear this sort of like, and they're like, never heard that. And I'm like, listen out for it. It's amazing. Like I like that just blew my head. And that was my second show that I did where I loved the show and I loved the cast. Like, we got on so well. Like, it was such a great experience. And I remember the last day being absolutely distraught going in, and I'd managed to stop myself crying for the whole show. And we were getting to the bows because I'm rubbish. Like, literally, when I did Our House, I was so sad that it was over. I came on for the opening number, which was Our House. You know, Our House in the middle. You're supposed to be all cheering happy, and I was like, Our House, like, absolute rubbish. Mamma Mia. You know, all the boys were sat in the quick change area backstage before the show. Like, we had a good cry together at the start, and we had a good cry at the end and everything. Some shows I didn't because it was to do with the people, and I just like, get me off this stage. But Ghost was sat there, and obviously the stories about love and everything and whatever, and all this beautiful music, and we're sat there at outside of the stage waiting to go on for bows and stuff. And one of the other lads, he was just sat next to me. I was like focusing, going, okay, don't cry, don't cry. Not because I wasn't like, oh, it's not manly or anything. I was just like, you know, I want to like not be blinded by my tears and stuff and everything.
Yeah.
And he just sat beside me and he just put his hand on my shoulder and I just went, and I was gone for the rest of the bows. Gone.
Oh, man.
Absolutely gone. It was a beautiful show. I had such a great time. I loved covering the part. Like when I got that call to say I was on, I was like, it filled me with so much happiness. Like, you know, it was that shot for me again to show that I could be lead. And actually one of the nights when I was on, the Hoff was on. The Hoff was in watching.
Oh, what? That's so cool.
So he came to watch, not specifically watch me, but basically it was a week when Richard Fleeshman was off, and the week was being split by me and the other lad. And one of my friends who'd worked with the Hoff was like, "Oh, I'm going to go and see Ghost." And he was like, "Oh, well, listen, my mate's like playing the lead this part of the week. Go and see him." And he's like, "Okay, I'll go and see him." So like met him afterwards and everything, all that sort of stuff.
Oh my God.
And another time when I was on, Bono was watching as well. Didn't get to meet Bono, but yeah, I absolutely loved that part. And actually later on, a few years later, I got the opportunity to audition for it again for a tour, but it didn't quite go my way. But yeah, I loved that show. It was one of, it's up there with my top shows to do.
I'm glad I missed it because I mean the film is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, is it all original songs or is it pop songs?
Original songs written by Glenn Ballard and Dave. Oh God, what's he called from Eurythmics? Dave Stewart. Glenn Ballard as well, who wrote "Man in the Mirror," Michael Jackson, my favorite Michael Jackson song. He was like a character from, you know, Otto in The Simpsons. Yeah. He looked a little bit like him, and he'd always walk around. I'd see him often in the sort of gym in central London in Piccadilly, and he'd have like this tracksuit, like just a plain t-shirt, like jogging bottoms, like and Converse trainers, and then just like a beanie hat on, and he'd be like, "Hey Mark, how's it going?" I'd be like, "You wrote my favorite Michael Jackson song."
Oh my God, that's insane.
And the music was beautiful, and like I say, they used film scoring for it and everything, and that just, I was like, yeah,
that'd do it for me.
I'll take that. Yeah.
So when you weren't covering the lead, were you in the ensemble?
In the ensemble, yeah. And I got a couple of like little moments, like I was, I don't know if you remember the film like vividly, but there's a moment where they're at the bottom of the apartment building and they're buzzing in, and the building man, a builder shouts down, he's like, "Shut up!" Like, because she's just shouting up, and I was that man, so I had like 3 or 4 lines, which was great, you know. But other than that, ensemble stuff, but it was really cool and it was very different. And we had this section where we were ninjas. So all the subway, you know, the "get off my train," which was my best friend who played that. That was all done in like ninja suits. So we had like black jumpers, black gloves that went underneath that attached so you couldn't have any skin showing. Same with the legs that went into black shoes. We had these hoods that came over, and we had these mesh like balaclavas with like, it was like noir Spider-Man. Yeah. So they had the eye holes, but then the eye holes was mesh. So the stage was pitch black. So we were lifting people, so they looked like they were floating.
That's cool.
But obviously we couldn't be seen.
Yeah.
One time, like, it was really technical in a sense of like, if you weren't on your job, someone could get injured. And I did actually get my head stamped on once from my best mate who was playing the Subway Ghost. He had to jump off one of the seats, and he had these big clonking DMs on that went bang right onto my head, and I just went like that, and I had a black eye for a week. But also when I got to go on as Sam, like the first time I went on, like there was this moment between me and my best mate, like we had this little, obviously we're both in character, but there was this split second moment of going, "Oh my God, this is so cool that we're on together." You know, it was just brilliant.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that.
Such an experience, that show, yeah. And then I left that show and I went on to Street of Dreams, the Coronation Street musical, which I'd actually done. I didn't have to audition for that because I'd done loads of recording for the cast album, like that they were releasing before the show. So I literally basically just got off. "Yeah, we're really happy with all the work you've done. We've seen you in Never Forget, so we know what you can do. You can be Dennis Tanner, no problem." And I was going to be on the most money that I'd ever been on a week.
Oh, really? Wow.
But for essentially not really doing much, which was in my head going, yeah, great. Because in Never Forget, theoretically, for a leading man's wage, I was on like nothing for what I did. So like the Coronation Street one was like, yeah, okay, well, I've done it the opposite around, so like fair enough, I'm getting my shot now to not do much and get paid more. Brilliant. And we did 2 nights at the Manchester Evening News Arena to about 15,000 people over the 2 nights, and then it went postponed and never to be seen again. And we lost out on money. We were owed money. Like I'm talking thousands. And it took me a long time to recover from that financially, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
It was just a shambles, that show. We literally when people whinge about not getting a dress run in for a show before you open on the very first time, I say to people, chill out, don't worry. Because we literally finished. We were supposed to go up on the very first night at the MEN Arena at 7:30. We didn't go up until 8:30 because at 7:30 we were only just finishing the final scene being teched. And at that point, there was things that weren't being done properly. I had to run out and go and buy my own show underwear at Marks and Spencer's and get my dinner at the same time.
No underwear?
Well, you have show underwear that they wash for you and stuff. You don't wear your own underwear. So there you go. That's
really?
Something. Yeah. You'll usually have like 2 or 3 sets of underwear. So, because if you have a double show day, like a Wednesday matinee and evening show, you have 2 sets of underwear. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Something you'll always do.
Cool.
A lot of people like to, just wear their own underwear, but I always wear the show underwear because I'm like, if I'm going to be sweating, I don't want to ruin my own underwear, So there you go. Yeah. So it was ridiculous. At the last minute, we were just putting on this show and 15,000 people over 2 nights. We were supposed to go to Dublin the following weekend to do 2 or 3 nights at the O2. And it just never happened. It's never happened. It all fell apart completely. And then I spent the summer sort of going, God, what am I going to do? I had to move out of where I was living. I house sat for a friend for a while. And then I auditioned for my next show, which was 9 to 5.
I wish I'd come and seen you in that because I really want to see it anyway. This
is an example where I really loved the show, but actually we had a nightmare with the cast. There was such a toxic atmosphere in the end because of it started off with 1 or 2 people and then it just spreads and it was difficult. But the show, however, was good. I got to be playing a part again. I had 3 or 4 scenes where I played the love interest of the main woman. I had a song with her as well. It was lovely. I really, really enjoyed it. And I met my wife.
That's where you met Laura?
That's where I met her. And she wasn't originally even supposed to be on it. She was only supposed to be working, assisting the supervisor for of wardrobe for a couple of weeks. And they just kept saying, we need you a bit longer, need you a bit longer, need you a bit longer. And in the end, they went, can you just stay? By which this point we'd been on maybe 3 or 4 dates. And she was like, oh my God, well, I want to stay because there's a boy, but should I stay because there's a boy? And the rest is history. We're now married, obviously.
That's so sweet.
But yeah, it was a good show. It is a good show. That unfortunately for us, the experience was sort of tarnished by people in it.
Yeah.
But I say, it doesn't always click. Out of all the jobs that I've done, I say only 3 jobs where I've had great cast and great show. It doesn't happen often. No, sometimes you can get a great cast and the show isn't quite good, i.e. Coronation Street.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did that for a year. That was fun. There was talk of it at that point going into the West End, and I was like, okay, good. I could potentially get a West End credit again and be a part. But nothing came to sort of fruition with that. And then I spent a horribly long time at work. I think it was just over a year and a half, which was quite tough because I was auditioning for things and just getting nowhere. I was like, what's going on here? I've literally pretty much worked non-stop my whole career, and now I can't even get past the first round of an audition. This is crazy. It's my age now. I'm in that weird bracket of too old to be a younger part, too young to be an older part. And then I kind of look a little bit younger for my age as well. So yeah, I really struggled. Put on weight, had no sort of motivation to keep myself fit because I was just
what's the point?
Yeah. I didn't at any point doubt my ability, but I doubted the industry. Going, well, why am I not at least getting to the finals of auditions and getting that close? It just wasn't happening. But eventually I got the call to do the audition for Bodyguard. And I only did 2 auditions for The Bodyguard.
Oh my God.
I went in and I and I sat down and did my first audition, which was essentially kind of like me and you talking and then doing a bit of script work in the middle. And the associate director was the associate director from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, so he knew me.
Oh.
What was funny though was that when I was in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I thought that associate director hated me. I did not think he liked me at all. So when I turned up to the audition, I was like, oh great.
No.
Okay, yeah, another job not gotten. And he was like, oh my God, I've seen your career since we worked together on Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. You've done so well. I heard you got the lead in Never Forget. Like, I never came to see it, but I heard incredible things about you. I've heard incredible things about you from Sharon D. Clark, who you work with on Ghost and everything. And like, she was like, you look like you've been doing really well. Like, anyway, let's do this scene work. So I did the scene a couple of times, and then they called me in for one more audition to do a couple of script work, and it was basically the same again. And that was it. I got the call going, yeah, do you want it? Starts in January.
Oh my God.
And that was it. So after being out of work for about a year and a half,
suddenly everything's clicked again.
Yeah, and it was a UK tour. At that time there was a very small murmur of it going into the West End. But the thing is you always go on a UK tour and it's like, oh, there's possibly going into West End. It happens like every time. You're like, yeah, sure. Yeah. But it did eventually. After about I did that for a year, and I was an acting swing on it. So I wasn't on stage every night, but I covered 5 parts. So I could go on for any of those parts.
So much.
One of them including The Bodyguard as well. Yeah. There was only like 1 or 2 male parts that I didn't cover in it. And I didn't get on for about 6 months. So
really?
you're waiting in the dressing room, and the longer and longer it goes on, you're like, I knew what I was doing. God. And it was very likely that the first part I was going to go on for was an FBI agent called Ray Court. And it's probably one of the hardest parts I've had to do. Not because it's like emotionally difficult or, physically difficult. The jargon that he had to say was so tongue twisting, and it was one of those ones where if you lose it, it's really hard to get back into.
Yeah.
And I knew that was probably going to be likely. That was the first part I was going to go on for. And it wasn't until, so we started in January and I didn't go on until June.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's painful.
And then eventually, like after that, it was like, never stop going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And actually the very first time that I got on so I did that for a year, and then I decided to stay on for another year because I was like, well, I've been out of work for 2 years. I need to sort of like catch up on finances here. So I said, yeah, I'll stay on for the second year. And there was talk of it then. It wasn't definite, but it had massively grown that it was going to go into the West End. So I was like, well, okay, yeah. Anyway, so we started the second year, and literally the first week, like it was like a Thursday night or something, and we got almost to the end of the show. There's only like 3 or 4 scenes left. And I hear this running up the stairs. We're in Belfast. Bum, bum, bum. I was like, oh God, who's that in the corridor? It was the associate director. And he was like, sorry, it was the resident director. And he came up and he was like, Mark, you're on. And I was like, oh, what, am I on as Ray, the FBI agent? He was like, no, you're on for Frank, the bodyguard.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Why? Because I was second cover as well. And he was like, well, basically the first cover played the FBI agent.
Yes.
So they were like, they've seen him in the scenes now. So it will confuse the audience too much. So you've got to go on. So I run downstairs and just stood there like in my underwear, people like fixing a mic on. Cause obviously the show stopped at this point due to technical difficulties. The show will start. And I'm just stood there like people are putting costume on me and they're going, all right, remember this, remember that. Don't forget that line's down. You've got to be stood there because it's dangerous because that thing falls. So if you're in the wrong place, you're going to injure yourself. And just staying calm. It was like one of those moments, you see in films where it's like someone stood there and everyone's going, everyone's going around and they're just like, yeah. And I went on and I did the last 4 scenes.
Amazing.
And I got a massive clap from the audience because of course, like everyone like hates that like when things change and stuff, but when you're in the audience and you see someone change and someone's been like thrown on at the last second, like they're on your side.
Of course.
Anyway, I did eventually get to go on again for like 2 shows as the bodyguard, and Laura got to see me do it, thankfully. When we were eventually in the West End with at the Dominion with it, which was good. It was a great experience, and I probably got one of my so obviously like any other work, you do a Secret Santa, wouldn't you, at work?
Yeah.
And we did a Secret Santa at Bodyguard, and Beverly Knight pulled out my name.
Beverly Knight, oh my God!
Best Secret Santa present I have ever got and probably will ever get. She
what was
got
it?
me. And because we talked about it, because I knew she worked with Guy Chambers, who used to write with Robbie Williams, I used to chat to her about it all the time. I was like, oh, da, 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 da. And at that time, Robbie Williams had just come out with his new album, Heavy Entertainment Show.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd said to her, oh my God, like these songs are like back to Robbie as we know him. You know, we're talking, I've Been Expecting You, songs when you're winning, sing when you're winning, all that sort of stuff. And so we had talks about it. I was like, oh, have you ever met Robbie? And she's like, yeah, I've met him a couple of times. Like, I mainly work with Guy, but I've met Robbie quite a lot. Like, and we used to have chats about it. Anyway, so I pulled my present out of the Secret Santa, and it's a double LP of Robbie Williams' latest album, Heavy Entertainment Show, signed by Robbie Williams and Guy Chambers. And I was like,
oh, bless her heart.
This is incredible.
So sweet.
Like that's the best Secret Santa present I've ever got, and probably ever will get. Yeah. So we did that, and we did saw that over Christmas, and we finished in early January in at the Dominion Theatre in the West End, and then we had about a month's break, and then we went to Toronto, and we did 3.5 months in Toronto.
So jealous of that.
Yeah, which was it was such a good experience. I loved it. Like, we were put up in these beautiful apartments. I was in like a 19th floor apartment that, you know, would be the equivalent of, say, you know, Canary Wharf in London.
Yeah.
And it was free. We didn't have to pay for it. Like, it was all being paid for us. We had per diems, like, which I saved so much of because I didn't really go out and spend. I did things, don't get me wrong, I wasn't boring, but instead of going out every night and buying expensive drinks, I stayed in, and I went to a liquor store and bought like a bottle of gin every week.
Yeah.
Maybe twice a week. Because, and actually, even though that cost, it saved me way more money.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't too frivolous, or I saved it for when Laura came to visit, and I saved it for experience and stuff. Got to go and see Niagara Falls. By the way, it was about -10 when I went to Niagara Falls, and it was misty and snowing, so you couldn't really see anything. Now, we were saying to the locals, oh, it's a shame that it's not good weather. And they're like, no, it's very, very, very rarely like this. You've actually experienced it in a different way that not many people will.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see anything. I'll have to send you later a video of me and Laura stood by it, like, because it's just, you can't see anything.
It's Niagara Falls.
But yeah, so we got to experience like proper Canada, like -18 temperatures, like full on snow, and no one panicking about it when it did snow. You know, it just snowed. I was walking home at night after the show. It was like, you know, -10, -15, and I was just loving it. I had my big old coat on that I bought. Like, I spent a lot of money on it because I was like, I want to be warm, but properly warm. Because obviously, when you go to these places that have that kind of extreme weather, they have the heaters on inside. So I was like, I don't want to be, you know, wearing 50,000 layers and have to strip off every time I go inside somewhere to then put it all back on again. I was like, I want something that's going to literally, if I'm wearing a t-shirt and this big jacket, is going to keep me warm. And it did. So I'd stroll home every night. Most people, they have these like underground walkways that like you can literally walk the whole of the center of the city.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I think the only other time I went down there was to get, like, there was some bagel shops and stuff that I love, but that was right by the theater. Like, I never walked in the underground bit because I was like, I want to experience this cold. Like,
yeah.
You know. And then obviously, of course, like I said, I got to go and see, I got to sort of rekindle my love with basketball and watched the Toronto Raptors play in the NBA. I got to watch quite a few games, which I absolutely loved. And it's still going strong now. I still love basketball now, NBA, and getting into it and everything. But yeah, it was just, I'd love to go back to Toronto. I'd love to go back to Toronto. It was such a great city. And actually, you know what's weird is, well, it's not weird, and you might know this, a lot of films film like right by where my theatre was. So I might be watching films now and I go, oh my God, it's Dundas Square. Like, it's Yonge Street. That's where we were, you know.
It's the same.
I was like, I've walked down that city.
I know exactly what you mean. It's the same in Vancouver, because obviously I was there for a year. And again, Canada is just amazing. Completely opposite sides where you were. But Vancouver is used loads for New York, and it's used in a lot of TV shows. So
the one thing I regret not doing is maybe perhaps going somewhere like out in the countryside to see those stunning landscapes. Like, I never got that far. Like, but that was kind of a thing where it's like, well, okay, you're gonna have to hire a car and go out there for like you know, that's going to be like a 4-hour drive and
Yeah.
so I never really got round to it. That's the one thing I regretted from it. But yeah,
But you should
that
definitely go back because there's so much to see.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, to be fair, like I didn't see a lot of the mountainy areas when I was living there. It's just when I went back to visit my friend because he was in Banff, and we did like we did a little road trip.
Skiing.
But yeah, I know that's the thing. Like, because he's a big snowboarder, and we but I went in the summer, so
Right.
but we did like
Not
a road
really
trip from Banff to Jasper and do all the amazing waterfalls we saw and glaciers and things, and yeah, it's amazing. So you should go back.
Yeah, Toronto was sort of like the end of the bodyguard journey for me because I wanted to progress in the cast, i.e. move up. But the management weren't having any of it really. So it ended. I think the tour went on to China or something, and I didn't go.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that was and then I spent 2 years out of work, really struggling. Like I was teaching kids drama like every other weekend, like just about scraping enough money by to get my like rent and pay bills. Not really able to do much else. So I don't know why I proposed to Laura in that time and agreed to do the wedding then. And we got married at the end of 2018.
It was a nice little wedding, though, wasn't it?
26th of November. Oh, it was beautiful. And we looked out that day, like either side in a November, either side of that day, it was grey and drizzly. Our day was beautiful. I don't mean the wedding day. That obviously was, but I mean weather-wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then literally it was like, get that. We went on our mini moon to Manchester. And then I was just kind of like, let's see what happens in January. Like, you know, hopefully at that point, there was obviously I went into waitress, but at that point I'd heard that everyone had been offered waitress. There was no way I was getting it, and I hadn't been seen. They'd not even bothered to see me.
Oh, really?
Anyway, yeah, I know, I was gutted. Anyway, my agent called me like early Janish, like maybe 10th of Jan or something like that, around then, and she said, would you be up for being a swing in waitress? Like they need someone. It'd be an urgent start. So I said, yeah, okay. It was like a Thursday. And she went, okay, cool, great, because it's a West End show. And I was like, yeah, fine. And you know, hopefully we can progress in another contract, but let's talk about that when, you know, the bridge comes, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So she went, okay, I'll let you know. Anyway, the next week she called me and was like, right, they want to see you on Monday at this time. Here's the sides and everything. I got sent over from via email, like as in the sides of like script and music and stuff. You're obviously a swing, but they want to see you possibly for a cover Earl, who's the husband, cover Cal, who's the diner manager, and cover Old Joe, who's like the 70-year-old man. Wow. So I went in on the first day. It was a Monday. I went in and I did my song that I'd prepared for it, which I sang Breeze Off the River from the Full Monty. Don't know if you know it. There's a breeze off the river through a crack in the window pane. So I sang that, and then they were like, okay, great, let's hear the Earls, let's do the Old Joe stuff. So I read the old man stuff and then did the song and everything. Great. Let's do the Cal stuff. Like they were laughing, brilliant, great. Okay, let's do the Earl stuff. So we did the scene a couple of times. I'm like, yeah, great. Oh, try this. Then literally sang his song. Great, thank you. Just to let you know, this will be an urgent start, so we'll keep you updated. I said, okay, fine. Literally like an hour later, I'm walking home. Yeah, you got to go in tomorrow. I think at that point they'd seen about 20 of us, maybe a little less.
Yeah. On
the Monday. The next day I came in and there were 3 of us. And I was like, okay, this is getting close now. Bearing in mind, I'd had nothing. Like, I'd not even had a second round for anything, like, in these 2 years.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was like, what can I do?
Yeah.
Like, again, never lost doubt in my own ability, but I was like,
what is it they want from me?
What is it? Yeah, like, I don't know. So Tuesday, 3 of us, and we're going to see you move today, guys. So we did like some movement and stuff. Then we had to do lifts with the associate choreographer. And they were like, great. Oh, then like, so bearing in mind in an audition, if you ever do dance routines, you'll usually learn it with the whole of the room. So it's probably about 20 of you in there, maybe 40, depends on the kind of audition. And then they'll break it down into half the room. So one half does it and the other half stands at the side, and then the next half does it, and vice versa. Then they'll go, right, we're going to see you in smaller groups now, usually around 4 people, and they'll do it in alphabetical order. W, great. And by the way, just a side note on that, W being at the end of the auditions, I re-auditioned for 9 to 5 when it went into the West End, and I didn't even get past that round of dancing. And I was, it was a hard routine when I did it the original time. Then when I did it, I was a lot older. Oh, I was like 2 or 3 years older. I hadn't had like done any exercise really, so my legs were like, whoa, what's going on? Anyway, so I didn't get it, and I was up for the same part that I played.
That's ridiculous.
They didn't see me do any sides or singing or anything. They literally tested my dancing first, and I didn't get it. Anyway, so W, 3 of us in the room, and the choreographer, the associate choreographer, joked, and she went, so we're going to do it all 3 of you at the same time a couple of times, and then you're going to do it one by one. And we all went, yeah, of course. And she was like, no, you're all going to do it one by one. So I went first. And then another lad did it. He botched it up. The next lad did it. He botched it up, but not as bad. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I've definitely done it the best there. Like, not even sure I've done it great, but I've definitely done it better than those 2. And then so they were like, thank you, great. Can you come in again tomorrow? So like, we'll let you know the time later on today. Okay, sure. Walked in, and it's literally me and the lad who didn't bodge it up as much as the other lads. So there's 2 of us now.
Oh my God.
And we are auditioning in the same building where they're rehearsing. They'd started rehearsals. They were in week 2 of rehearsals at this point. So all the cast are coming out, and they're going, oh, hi, nice to meet you. Like, oh, are you 2 auditioning for this track? And we were like, yeah. Like, you're like, oh, come on, don't need this. Because like you can feel them going, who's going to get it?
Yeah.
And then also, like, I knew a few people in the cast already because I'd worked with them or trained with them. And the other lad did as well. But obviously in your head, when you're going, I really want this job, I haven't worked in 2 years. This is money. This is a West End job. This is also on the photography side of things for me. I knew Jack McBrae was in it. I knew Catherine McPhee was in it. And I was like, if I can get in this job and I can get photo shoots with them, that's going to do me wonders. You know? So there was a lot at stake. There was a lot on the line. And so I'm seeing this guy, like, I'm like, he knows more people than me. Oh no, he's going to get it because he knows more people than me. It's never a factor.
It's not be about
that,
yeah.
Well, it's not a factor.
No.
The casting panel would never go, oh, well, he knows more people. They don't care about that. But when you're in that position where you're going, I need this job,
it bothers you.
You're going, he knows. I think he said hello to like 5 people and I've only said hello to 3 people. So we sat outside and I hear him go in and I hear him do it. And I was like, oh, okay, that was quite good. I think I can do it better. I can definitely do it better. So I go in and I do my stuff, and like in and out of the scenes a couple of times. Like, and I didn't do the old man stuff this time. So I was like, okay. I was like, oh, is that a no then? Because actually, with being an older person, surely they'd want one of the eldest people in the cast to cover the older part.
Yeah.
As much as I don't look like I'm 70.
No.
But I did the Earl stuff like more that time. So I was like, okay, right. Okay. Yeah. So I did the audition and finished it, and they were like, thanks, we'll let you know. That was it. Thursday, didn't hear anything. Immediate start, by the way.
Yeah.
Friday, didn't hear anything. And I rang my agent in the afternoon. I said, listen, I'm assuming it was a, close but no cigar. Like, it's Friday now. Surely they'd have said it. And she was like, no, we've not heard anything. And we know the agent of the other lad, and they've not heard anything either.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. And at this point, I'm going, this is meaning too much to me now. I've got to get it out of my head and
just need to know.
Just forget about it. Anyway, so Saturday, Sunday, you're not going to hear anything because office isn't open and stuff. Monday, like I'm like, right, if I don't hear anything today, that's it. I've not got it. No way. Because they said urgent start, and they'd surely be starting this week because it opens with its previews soon. And I come back from the gym. Like, I've just trudged all the way back up the hill like I'm dead. I've done HIIT training on the treadmill. And I get the call from my agent, and I'm literally going, oh, God, right, it's my agent, okay? And I needed a second just to go, like, please don't be it's not gone your way this time. And I just went, hi, Stephen. And he went, Hi, Mark. So I've got some news, and I was like, oh, when am I going to get a job again? And he went, they need you to come in to start rehearsals today.
Oh my God.
And I was like, does that mean I've got it? And he was like, yeah, you've got it. You've been offered it. This is what they offered. Obviously, this is going to be really quick. You're not going to get a lot of time to think about this and what they're offering. This is it. Go. Like, he was like, I'm going to go away. I'm going to give you an hour. Have a think about it, what you want to do. Obviously, it's West End. You're covering. I know it's not ideal. I know you don't want to swing, but it's West End original cast. And I just went, okay. And I put the phone down. And I went, I'm stupid if I don't take this. Like, I'm stupid.
What you've just put yourself
and I
through.
just had that moment, and this sounds dramatic, but I kind of collapsed. My legs just went, like, it's not like really, really dramatic, but I kind of just lost my footing and sort of went. And Laura came running in the room, and she'd been working this whole time. Like, she works in wardrobe, obviously. She'd been working on Harry Potter. So luckily she was in and not working. And she was like, have you got it? And I was like, yes, I've got it. And she was like, oh my God, so when do you start? And I'm like, this afternoon. And I was like, I can't start this afternoon. I need to get, I had like teaching that I was supposed to be doing that weekend. I had stuff to sort out. So I said to my agent, I rang him back and I went, yes, I absolutely want it. I went, can I start tomorrow though? Like, will they let me start tomorrow? And there's a lot of stuff that I need to sort out. And he was like, absolutely. He was like, you're starting tomorrow. I'm going to tell them, like, you're starting tomorrow. I'm not going to ask them. You're starting tomorrow. So that was it then. Like, me and Laura went out and celebrated with some Prosecco and a burger. And then off I went to rehearsals the next day, like, to play catch up as a swing, like, because the other swings had 2 weeks. 2 weeks more than me to get going on it. And I'd missed like all the vocal calls. So like the first sort of 4 days of rehearsals that they had was all vocal calls. So you just sat in a room all day and you're going over each line of the harmony for every sort of group of males and females. And I missed out on all that. So I had to literally learn it by getting the tracks off other people or grabbing the MD, musical director, whenever I could. And she'd be like, oh, can you bash out this line for me? And I'll just get it noted down. I had to do a lot of learning on my own. Like, it was crazy. Anyway, eventually I caught up, I got on stage and, and I was sort of integrated. I mean, obviously I started performing when everyone else did. Like, it wasn't that far in, but and then I was just waiting for that one cover to get. I'd been on so I covered 3 male ensemble tracks that I could go on for at any time if they were ill or took holiday, and then I covered Cal, the diner manager, and Earl, the husband, and I went on for every single one before Earl, and that was the one I wanted. That was the one I wanted to go on for. And actually, the time I went for Cal, I'd only done a couple of rehearsals for it. I'd not even done a full technical rehearsal. I'd not even done a full dress rehearsal. And on this Friday night, randomly, they were like, I think you're going to have to go on tomorrow. And I was like, well, okay, I'll just have to get through it. Like, so I woke up in the morning and I was in the theatre at 10 a.m. Bearing in mind, you don't need to be in until 1 o'clock on a double show day, Saturday. And I was like in there going over the stuff, and they called me at 11 o'clock going, you're on, can you make your way to the theatre, please? We need to go over stuff with you. And I was like, I'm here. And they were like, oh my God, like, we'll be there in half an hour. So I literally rehearsed through all the scenes in a bar in the theatre, went on and did a 1 or 2 technical things that I needed to do because of safety. And that was it. I was being Cal. And he has like an apron in the show. And I had all these like show notes in my apron. So he has his own little diner, as you saw, and he's doing all this busy stuff. So like anytime I needed to be busy, I was like going into my apron and pulling out the paper going, what's my next cue? Okay, slam the thingy down. Okay, that's what I was doing, because I'd never rehearsed it properly. And it was a really awkward part in a sense of where you wouldn't do anything for ages and then you'd come in on a cue. Like, so it was really hard. So that was my first experience of that role. And after I'd done all my tracks and everything, I was just waiting. I just wanted to get on for Earl. I desperately wanted to get on for Earl, because actually going back into the rehearsal period, I'd been there for about 3 or 4 days, and the lad who played Earl was like injured halfway through the second scene that he was on for as Earl. And I'm there like taking pictures of the does everyone mind if I take pictures? Taking pictures, and I'm going, oh, he's making some interesting acting choices here. no, I think he's actually in pain. Yep, he's in pain. Okay, I'm going to have to go on. So they literally went, he sort of like crawled out the room going, I'm really sorry, everyone. And they literally just have to go like, we've got to carry on. We've got no time. And I no one asked me. And I just went, I've got to step in. So I went all over to the side of the room. I got my script. And I was like, da, 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 I know what I'm doing. Bang. And I went on and I did that first, one little tiny scene in the first half. And then obviously you've seen the show, like when he pulls her from the wedding and he's like, you're hiding money from me. And he loses his so yeah, I just had to go on, and I'd been there for like 4 days or something like ridiculous. And I loved that, because that for me, my introduction back to performing after not doing anything for 2 years, was that mix of excitement and adrenaline rush of going, I'm bricking my pants here. Oh my God, this is so much fun. Do you know what I mean? And to do that like in the rehearsal period in front of all the producers, like anyone to do with the show, with any department, were there, because it's like it's the end of rehearsal room run that everyone has to see where the show is and how it's all going and everything. So I got to step on, and it's like, not only was it, sometimes you have to step in normal like rehearsals anyway, but like to step in at that point was like that could have gone really bad.
Yeah, you showed.
Luckily for me, it went really, really well, and that for me, was like a look. I can do this. I can play this part. Like, anyway, so eventually I got to go on, and I loved it. And then when you go on for parts like that as a cover that you love and you can do really well, when you're then not on like the following night or whenever you're not on, you kind of like, you hit this downer of just going,
frustrating.
Okay, yeah. And then I would just always look forward to the next time, and I got on for that, and I got on a lot. I got on a lot with Lucy Jones. I got on with Kat McPhee. I got on with Sarah Bareilles. So cool. I actually got on with one of the other cover girls as well. Which was really cool. There was only one girl that I didn't, two people, sorry, that I didn't get to go on with. But one was Sarah O'Connor, who was one of the covers, and she was a swing with me as well. And we'd actually been paired together a lot for the rehearsals when we rehearsed all the Earl and Jenna stuff, but we never actually got to go on together in an actual performance. And then a girl who came over from Broadway, the US tour randomly, when we had all our Jennas that were ill, and she was flown over. We had to cancel the shows on a Saturday night, and then the Monday she was on. And I never got to go on with her, not as Earl, but I got on with her as Cal. The first time I met her was literally like, I was in the diner as Cal, and she was doing her Jenna stuff. Like, she wrote on the check orders thing, and she went, "Hi, I'm Desi." "Hi, I'm Mark."
Oh, that's so sweet.
First time you're meeting someone properly, like, and you're on stage in character. But yeah, really and I just loved going on for that part every time. It was.
Well, it's a bit different to everything else, isn't it?
Very different. He was a horrible character, and that's why I loved it so much, because, it was something that I'd never been seen doing. My agent came to see it, my agent I'd worked with on Mamma Mia. She was my dance captain on Mamma Mia, and then she was my resident director on Never Forget. So she'd known me in the capacity of being an ensemble member with a little part in Mamma Mia, and then she'd known me being a leading man with doing full-on acting, singing and dancing, and she knew how good I was, and that's why she took me on as a client, because she knew what I could do. But when she came to see me as Earl, she was like, I did not know you could do that. Like,
yeah, I remember your mum saw you doing that.
She hated
part,
it.
And
she hated me.
It. Yeah.
She absolutely hated me. But then she hated when people booed me at the end.
So I'm good we didn't see you doing that bit. That
what was I on in the ensemble when you came to see it? Or, yeah. It was. I just loved doing it because it was something different. It was a very gritty role, and a very, very, very rare type of role that you would get in musical theatre.
Oh yeah.
To play something like that, and I just absolutely loved it, and I desperately, desperately wanted to go on for it all the time, and I wanted to get on with Sarah Bareilles because I was desperate to show what I could do. They'd heard good things about me, but like I'd never got on to show how I could do it, and I just loved it. It was such a great role, and I really, really missed it. I'm not going to be doing it in the tour. I don't know how exclusive. Well, it doesn't matter because I'm not doing it. I'm not saying who is doing it, but unfortunately, I'm not doing it, and I'm gutted. And when I got that call to say that I wasn't going to be doing it for the tour, I was that stung. That stung massively. It still stings a little bit now because I felt like I had unfinished business with that part. Like I wanted to do it outright.
Well, it was
for me
taken from you, like it was cut short, like
that was the unfortunate thing about COVID, and obviously that brings us up to date, doesn't it? That the West End just completely shut down. We were told on like Monday the 16th of March, we were told like government said that theatres can remain open but people shouldn't go, so we're closing. Not closing, they were just saying there's no show tonight. Go home, we'll let you know each and every day what's going on. And obviously nothing ever happened then, because then the following week, like 7 days later, was when we went into full on lockdown. And we knew that the show was supposed to be closing in July, ready to go onto a UK tour in the November or something. So we were like, the longer this goes on, like the less chance we're going to come back and the show's actually officially going to close. And it did. So you didn't get that last moment, that closing night. And and then that takes us on to the last job, which I put on my CV for you, which was COVID pandemic musical, playing the part of struggling actor and photographer.
Pretty much.
That's it, really. I mean, as of this time now, there's actually for the first time a little bit of hope, because with the roadmap and everything from the government, it's looking more and more likely that theatre's going to be, hopefully up and running at least a little bit in June.
I hope so.
Maybe even May. I don't think it's suddenly going to go to, like every single West End theatre open and, full capacity and all that stuff. But, I just hope it can get up and running soon, so then there'll be more jobs for there, and I'm not going to spend another, 2 years out of work from now waiting to get another job again. Do you know what I mean? Because I felt like I was on a good run.
Exactly.
With Waitress and stuff. So
are there like auditions happening at all, or
I haven't had it at the moment, but I know there are. But it's very specific, and also a lot of people who would have been in contracts for shows might be staying on or given like an extension to see out their contract, if you will, the time that was left on it. So, and then of course, not many people are going to want to leave their jobs now. Usually, like people will be like, "Oh yeah, I've done this job now. It's great. I've had a great time, but I want to move on." Whereas most people are like, "Well, I don't know,
what's
if
happening?
it's going to be stopping and starting or whatever." Or so it's just.
I mean, it's always quite an uncertain like job area to work in anyway, but now it's just really highlighted it and made it even worse.
It's really tough. Like the theatre industry, an entertainment industry, any sort of live entertainment industry has been hit one of the hardest, if not the hardest. I know people have complained about like hospitality and stuff and like pubs, but there were times when they were allowed to open or at least allowed to sell takeaways like that. But there was one moment in November or just before lockdown, where shows were starting again with socially distanced audiences and stuff, but it didn't last long. It lasted about a week, and that was it. Then it didn't even get a chance to get on its feet, really. And there's a lot being done from big producers and stuff within the theatre industry to try and put all the safety protocols in for COVID. Unfortunately, it's just an industry that relies on a large amount of people sitting in an area to do it. So I just don't think it's going to be a while before it gets back to normal, how we knew it, how like when you came to see me and Waitress, like, or even when you went to see Back to the Future, it's going to be a long time. I don't think it's going to be until at least next year until it's resembles something like that, which I'm being realistic with. I'm not being pessimistic with, because I want my industry to pick up again. I want to be in a job. I'm just trying to think realistic and think like it might be a while yet, which is why I do my photography, and hopefully try and rely on that to get me money, because when you're an actor, there's times when you're out of work a lot.
Exactly. Well, tell us about your photography business. How long have you been doing it for now? It's been a while now.
Picked up my first camera when I was in Ghost. Sorry, I just knocked over my water bottle. Picked up my first camera when I was in Ghost, so about 2011, like my first proper camera. And I just kind of went, I'm going to learn how to do this properly. I'm going to shoot on manual. Like, I've got an expensive machine in my hand. I don't want to just stick it on auto and pretend I'm a photographer.
Yeah.
So if I've offended anyone by that, but shoot on manual, not auto, because you're not a photographer.
Yeah.
anyway, that's a big old debate. But yeah, and so I just learned how to do it, and over the years, tried to sort of like invest in it and everything to be my side business. And actually, weirdly, it's not until now. Well, when I got into waitress, I did portraits of the cast, obviously.
Yeah.
Which was great. Got to shoot with Jack McBrayer.
Very cool.
Hollywood. He's in 30 Rock. He's in films like Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He pops up all over the place in US sitcoms, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
What a lovely man. What a lovely man. And I think I said
it.
this on your previous podcast, didn't I? He was actually named Hollywood's nicest man. And he is. He's absolutely lovely. So yeah, I got to shoot him, got to shoot people like, Gavin Creel, who's obviously a Broadway and West End star. Shot with Lucy Jones, obviously. Joe Sugg.
Bless him.
Yeah, so that kind of really helped push me out there a little bit.
Definitely.
And then it's not since like we've been into lockdown and I've been able to, I built a little mini studio in my garage at the place we were living before where we are now, and started to really play around with my lights and stuff. Started to build a little bit of momentum by doing a lot of free shoots, which then brought attention to me, which then brought business. We then had to move. I rebuilt the same little space in the spare room. Well, it's not even the spare room; it's the main room of the house that we're living in now. We're sleeping in the spare room.
Oh my God.
However, I have given Laura pretty much all the wardrobe space. I've basically got just two little mini drawers.
That's fair enough. Yeah,
that was a fair sacrifice.
Yeah.
And yeah, so weirdly, like I've been shooting in here now, obviously not when it's been in lockdown, but the times when I was allowed to, I was, and I've been picking up a little bit of business and starting to really gain momentum with it, which has been stifled by the lockdowns. And I've held interest as of now. So I'm just hoping that, once this roadmap starts to clear the way, that I can pick up again and really start to sort of like earn my money so that, I can be in charge of my work and when I can shoot and stuff. And if I get an audition come in, I can sort of reschedule the shoot or whatever. So it was just the sideline business that I wanted, because I did the usuals, like working in a bar or working for promotional companies, handing out leaflets, all sorts of stuff I did. And I hated it because it's not what I wanted to do. Like I wasn't creatively fulfilled. I didn't want to be told by a boss that was like, 6-7 years younger than me what to do.
Yeah.
When I was even doing jobs that I didn't want to do, I still worked hard at it.
Yeah, of course.
So when you're getting a person who's got something up them because you're older than them and they think that you're cocky or something like that or whatever, so they try and poke you constantly because they're like, well, they're older than me and they think they know better, so I'm going to show them that I'm the manager and I'm going to abuse my power.
Yeah.
Didn't want any of that. And that's why I've focused hard on my photography so that I don't have to deal with people like that.
Yeah. So do you think it would always be like just a sideline business, or do you think you would want to do it full time?
Absolutely, just a sideline business. I'll grow it as much as I can.
Yeah. And
I'll keep pushing and working on it because I want to grow and I want to get better. But, my first love and my first job is acting, and that's what I want to do,
Of course.
I can actually earn way more money in a week doing photography, like potentially if I fill all my slots in a week than I've ever earned on a show. And you earn good money. You earn good money being in a show.
Yeah.
I would be creatively fulfilled, but I want the other I want the other creativity, and I haven't got a spare battery now as well.
Dude.
So I've gone rainbow.
All right, Zippy.
But it's going to be a sideline because I want to keep performing and acting as long as I can. Basically, it's to support my acting.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can earn money when I'm out of acting, and I can earn extra pocket money when I'm in acting, and hopefully shoot some famous people.
Which is fun.
Yeah, really fun. Really fun.
Okay. Well, like you can still talk without the video. Is it just the video that's broken?
Yeah, I can still talk. Yeah.
Right. Well, screw it then.
I don't mind.
Because there's like a few like questions and stuff I still wanted to go through anyway, but which we'll just use as shorter questions now, because obviously we have been on for 2.5 hours. When you said,
I'm actually quite pleased that the batteries have lasted that long. So that's
I know, it's impressive. I was like, we won't be on for 3 hours this time, but we've got a lot of stories to tell. So
I chat too much. Yeah, I've been told that.
So we talked about photographing famous people. So you've worked with a lot of famous people over the years. So who would you say has been the most famous person you've worked with?
If we're if we're talking on terms of like stature, it depends, because I would probably say someone like Jack McBrayer, because he's a Hollywood man. He's done Hollywood films and stuff,
Yeah.
But it depends, because you work with people in the musical theatre industry that are famous, and to a lot of people who've never seen Jack McBrayer in anything, I could say, he's the most famous person I've shot, but they'd be like, who? No, I don't know. Oh, I've shot Lucy Jones. Oh my God, you've shot Lucy Jones.
Yeah, it's perspective.
And I'm sorry if you are listening, Lucy. I love you. And you are Lucy Jones. You are brilliant. But let's be honest, Jack McBrayer is more famous than you. So
cool. So Jack for sure.
Yeah, probably Jack. I would say. I mean, if we're talking like social media wise, obviously it would be Joe Sugg, because he's got 5 million followers. But Jack McBrayer has no social media. So that didn't help. But it was really cool to shoot him. Really cool.
I bet, yeah. Who is the nicest famous person you've worked with? Or the most fun?
Well, Jack was really funny.
Yeah.
Jack was really funny. One moment I remember, one of them, we got to see him do the rehearsals for Ogie in Waitress. And when you see, I'm sure you'll do this, when you get to like a comedy series and you go, oh, I wonder if they got an outtakes like video on YouTube or whatever, or the Friends, is it outtakes on Friends DVD or whatever?
Yeah.
We got to watch him doing outtakes, like trying stuff out in a scene, and it was just so good to watch. That's like so amazing cool. of him just like fearlessly going, I'm going to try this gag in my head. That was rubbish. Carry on. Next one. No sort of like, beating just himself riffing. Up. Just punch that wall to get the gag right, or to at least get a handful of gags that he goes, okay, they're my weapons now. I know I can use any of those. But he was lovely. And one of the first things he like in a just a conversation with me and him, that really made me laugh was we were talking about something. I think I mentioned the NBA or something, and he went, and then he mentioned Blake Griffin, who's a player for the Detroit Pistons. But he was like, oh yeah, so me and Blake Griffin. I was like, oh yeah, just pick that name up there that you dropped. And he went, no, I want you to see it. I'm just gonna put it there. And I was like, oh my God, that's a brilliant response. Like, that's hilarious. Like,
I love it.
How has no one ever said that before? That's brilliant. And he was lovely. Like, I mean, he sent you a birthday message, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Thank you very much for that.
He'd do stuff like that. He was just, or like a couple of the people in our cast had kids, and he'd call them up and leave a voice note as Fix It Felix from Wreck-It Ralph. He was lovely.
Sounded really cool.
I always thought Ashley Roberts was a good laugh as well.
Yeah.
She didn't take herself seriously. Like, she was really good fun. She was a bit of a chump, She was
when
really
did
good.
You work with Ashley?
On Waitress.
On Waitress as well.
Yeah, she came, and obviously we worked with Blake Harrison, as in Neil from The Inbetweeners. But yeah, there's a lot of nice people. It depends. Lucy Jones is absolutely lovely. She's a really good laugh. Joe was actually a really nice lad, really lovely. Had a lot of time for you. Like I say, he agreed to do the photo shoot for me. Like, probably bugged him so many times. He was like, oh, Jesus, shut up. All right, I'll shoot you, fine. And when I'd ask him to like repost any of my images and stuff that we shot together, or, I'm posting this one up tonight, can you mention it on your, he was really helpful with that sort of stuff. So I'm just mentioning everyone who was in Waitress now, aren't I?
Yeah, it's just because it's fresh in your mind.
Worked with a lot of nice people. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Switching it from people you've met then, who would be your favourite actor within, the musical theatre world, within theatre?
Oh, hard.
Because I know who your real favourite actor is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Who sprung to my mind then before you said musical theatre, because I was thinking you were thinking theatre. And it's not musical theatre, but Mark Rylance.
Mark, he's amazing.
Did you ever see him in Jerusalem?
No.
I watched, it's like a 3-hour play with like 2 intervals.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it at the theatre that it was in. Can't remember what theatre it was in now. And I was on like the 3rd tier in a box right at the side of the stage, like hanging over the box, like craning, like really hurting my ribs, but mesmerized by his performance. Just mesmerized. And I've seen him in, so that was called Jerusalem, and he was unbelievable in it. Unbelievable. I just remember walking away being blown away by him. And that had like Mackenzie Crook in and a load of other great actors. And he just absolutely topped them. And imagine like
he doesn't seem to capture. I think he does just hold, like when he's on screen, he just holds the screen. So I can imagine in a theatre.
Like he manages to do as an actor, like little subtleties of movement and stuff like that. That, you know, another actor, you could be like, oh, stop trying too hard. Like you're going into too much detail for the sake of going into too much detail. But you just feel like when he does it, it's like a natural process that he's not even thought about. It's just happening. You know, it's almost like he's soaking up the character so much that character is thinking for his body, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I saw him in Jerusalem, and then I saw him in Lebet as well, where when he first comes out in that play, he has a half an hour monologue. He comes out and
oh my God.
He did it with I've forgotten the actor's name now, but he plays Niles in Fraser.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I can't think.
Oh, David.
David? Anyway, he was on stage with him, and the only sort of interjections he's doing is kind of like, and this monologue goes on for a half an hour. It's ridiculous. He was so good.
That's
and then
most
recently, it was like a play about fishing in like Manitoba or Minnesota or something like that or whatever. And again, he was just, I was like, surely he can't be this good. I think I'm like glorifying him in my head, like how good he is. And then I watched it and was just like, no, he's really that good. He's really that good.
That's really cool. I do need to go and see more plays. So I have to see a lot of musical theatre generally, but there are a lot of good plays out there.
Yeah.
He would be cool to see.
But I can't think musical theatre wise, to be honest.
No, that's all right. I'll take Mark Rylance as a theatre actor.
Yeah.
That's cool. Obviously, you've talked already about the favourite shows that you've done. So if you could do any show that you haven't done, what would it be?
Either Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, is that on as a show? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's a musical.
Really?
Have you never heard of it? Yeah.
No.
It's never been in the UK.
Cool.
It was in Germany and Broadway. But there's a cast recording of it. You'll probably find it on iTunes. And there's a brilliant song in it called Goodbye that he sings, as in the Frank Abagnale character.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio. That he sings Goodbye, and it's all about him saying, I've had enough now. That's it. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, you know, handing myself in and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that film anyway. What a film.
Yeah.
What a film. That's in my top 10 films, I think, on my YouTube channel when I did my video for my top 10 films.
It was.
That or something like Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, yeah.
Not always a role I wanted to play. When I was at college, I suddenly found out that I could do like, like rock screaming, like the why should I die? But being like, why? Like proper high. I suddenly discovered that I could do that. So I was like, oh my God, yeah, I can do that. Oh, Jesus is a really cool part in Jesus Christ Superstar. Then as I got a bit older and I started to get into my acting a little bit more, I was like, no. Judas is the better part.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've always wanted to do it ever since, but
that would be really cool.
I don't think I'd ever get anywhere near auditioning for it because I'm not a known enough person within the musical theatre industry. And roles like that usually go to people who are the current, in people, the sort of like latest flavour. Yeah. However, the last few times I've seen it being done, I haven't seen it for years, but there was one that was recently at the Barbican where apparently the guy playing it was ridiculous. And I've heard the recordings of it, and it's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you can fine, you can have the role over me, that's fine.
Love it.
But yeah, so probably like Catch Me If You Can or Jesus Christ Superstar, Judas.
Nice. So, but to go and see then, what would be your favorite show to go and see? Like, what's your favorite show ever? Your favorite musical ever?
I never think about like going to shows, you know, like if I think something's maybe like supposed to be a good show, I might go and see it. But I honestly would prefer to go to the cinema.
Yeah, fair
Over
enough.
and one reason why is because it's not because I hate my industry. I love it, obviously, because I do it and I'm in it. Well, not obviously because I do it. I love it because I love it. But I find it difficult to go and see a show without sort of like being critical about it. Breaking it down and going, why have they made that choice? Well, that's not very good. Oh God, they're awful. Or oh, that's an interest. I can't switch off. I find it difficult. I find it really difficult to switch off. So that's why I don't really think about going as much. Trying to think like if I'd love to go and see something. I probably would like to go and see Catch Me If You Can. I would love to potentially see you know, I'd love to have gone and seen Ghost, which I did, but I'd love to go back now and see Ghost of Casey and Richard in it again. And but yeah, that's it. I can't really think of anything. I'm rubbish.
Fair enough. So, I mean, okay then. They're my basic fan questions that people would want to know from you.
Okay.
But yeah, so obviously, you know, going into the future with COVID, you know, so what do you see happening in the next year?
Well, I think, like I said before, like I can't see the theatre industry getting back to normal.
No.
Until at least halfway through next year, like normal, as close to normal as possible.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a long time before we get to normal as we remember it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I'm. It sounds like I'm being really pessimistic about the industry getting up and running. Yeah. I'm optimistic and I want it up and running and I'm happy, but I also understand that it has to be safe. You know. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's been a while. I think for me, I've just got to hope that it can get up and running again soon and something comes out that I'm going to be, you know, eligible for. Yeah. And it's going to be right for me and I'm going to be able to do. And I've just got to hope that I'm lucky enough that something comes along because, you know, it doesn't matter how talented you are or how many jobs you've done. Like sometimes it's not about, but I think a lot of people just like to look at it for the, you know, potential famous people that I've shot. Yeah. So that's that. My YouTube channel for my photography is just Mark Willshire Photography. If that's what you type in the search bar, obviously I can give the links to you, Mercedes.
Yeah.
And my second one is Mark Willshire Actor and Tog. So if you're listening to this, you're probably more bothered about the musical theatre side of things or theatre side of things. So that one, Mark Willshire, Actor and Tog. Tog is basically short for photographer, for any of you that don't know. That channel is a lot of like behind the scenes of Waitress and stuff, or interviews, or, you know, small behind the scenes videos of shoots that I've done with people. But mainly I think I've done a day in the life of a waitress swinging one of them, which is like goes through the whole day of everything that happens.
That's cool.
Yeah, like I did my very first vlog that I did with it. I think someone said to me when I was doing all that, and I've got my vlog camera, which I use today, which is now made me look like a rainbow or the Channel 4 girl. When I bought it, people going to me, "Oh, why have you spent that money? You know, like you just jump in on a craze," because Joe Sugg was in the show at the time, you know, so like a few people bought cameras. A lot of people have sort of phased off now and aren't doing it anymore, you know, but I'm still going with mine, and realized how much I remembered I loved it because when I did Goosebumps as a kid, I was earning money and I bought myself a camcorder. So I used to like film like fake TV shows, like fake adverts, like record myself mini films and all that stuff. And I really, really loved it. So when I first started my YouTube channel for all this and like had my vlog camera, I just went, oh my God, I've forgotten how much I love doing this, like the editing process, the filming process, the getting the ideas, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So that's my Mark Willshire Actor and Tog page. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm just at Mark Willshire. I'm not hugely active on Twitter because, you know, I don't really. It's not really doing anything for my photography, so I'm not on it as often. But yeah. So and that's it really. I don't think I have any. I mean, if you want to follow me on TikTok, I'm on it. I think I've just changed my username, so I'd be Mark Willshire Photography. But yeah, I think that's everything. I think it's covered everything.
Can't people buy a little video message from you as well on?
Oh yes, I am on Cameo.
Cameo, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had a Cameo since like April or May or something. I opened it up and told people that I was on Cameo, and I got like about 3 or 4 cameos. I was like, oh yeah, brilliant, this is great. And then I haven't had any since. And some people now just message me on Instagram, just go, oh, can you send a video to my mate? It's a birthday. I'm like, can you go on Cameo?
Pay for it, yeah.
It's hard, because like when that sort of stuff happens, part of you is like, well, I don't want to look like a horrible person.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if that's what you want to do.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. So there you go, folks. For your next birthday present or your Mother's Day present on Cameo. Cool. Well, we'll round it off there as we have been on for almost the 3 hours we said we weren't going to do. And we haven't really talked much about film and TV, which I wanted to do, but that's another time.
Well, I'm coming back again, aren't I, for Stranger Things?
Yes, we are going to rewatch Stranger Things before the new season, and then we're going to chat.
Oh my God. Yes, that sounds good. As in I'm watching it as well, or are you just saying you and Jamie are going to watch it?
Oh, he won't watch it. He's not into it. I'm going to watch it. You're going to watch it.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm up for that.
And you need to watch WandaVision.
Oh yes, I'm starting that tomorrow.
Good.
I can't wait. I have been excited. I know you think I'm being rubbish, but I waited because I know now that I can watch a couple of episodes a night now this week, so that by the time it gets to Friday and that last episode's out, I'll be watching it.
You'll be there with me. You'll be like, you'll have to message me each time something significant happens. I'll be like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, I'm already hearing stuff because some of the podcasts and stuff I'm listening to, like the Scrubs one, they constantly talk about it on their things, going, "Oh, did you watch WandaVision?" I'm like, "Please don't say anything."
Spoilers.
They can't hear me, obviously, but I'm going, "No, don't say anything." And then, to their credit, they are very good. They show that they've absolutely loved it and that something crazy happened, but they don't say what or what affects it, etc., etc. But yeah, I've heard brilliant things, so I'm really, really, really looking forward to it.
You will love it. You will love it. Yeah. I promise you that. Right, dude. Well, thank you very much for being on tonight.
Thank you for having me. And sorry I turned into a rainbow in the end.
Don't worry. I like it. It adds to it. I might just edit a little picture of you there or something.
Yeah, put a headshot of me on or something.
I will do. Right, well, you get back to your lovely wife now.
All right. She's probably asleep now.
Probably asleep. Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, Mark, thank you very much.
Yeah, all right then. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.